Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla. Take guard, man the barricades, patrol the cover boundary. At last the time has come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than rev counters and a slice of cake. At first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act, but people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pascoe, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. Would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
We swooned at Rohit Sharma. We were charmed by Ajinkya Rahane. We're in a whirlwind fling with Rishabh Pant, and on a lively pitch, some may say that England have work to do to avoid a St. Valentine's Day massacre. On this 14th of February we say, hello, we love you and welcome wherever you are in the world to guerrilla cricket. You join us on day 2 of the second test from Chennai's famous Chepauk, now reunited with half of Chennai's famous knowledgeable crowd, TM, with India after a breathless first day in which they won the toss and elected to bat, sitting at 300 for 6 in search of a win that would level the series after England's magnificent win in the first test. A recap of the personnel changes: India decided that Washington Sundar's batting couldn't make up for his ineffectiveness with the ball, left out Shabaz Nadeem, who provided neither control nor wickets, and rested Jasprit Bumrah. In came Akshar Patel for his test debut, the recalled Kuldeep Yadav, and they gave another go to the hero of the Australia Tour, Mohammad Siraj. England brought in Ben Foakes for Jos Buttler, who's resting at home, brought back Moeen Ali for the profligate Dom Bess, swapped in Stuart Broad for the rested James Anderson, and called up Ollie Stone to deputise for the slightly injured Jofra Archer. And let's introduce our own personnel. I'm your host, Knuckle M. Pandey, and I'll be taking you through the first half hour of play in the company of Paul Howarth.
Hello, everyone.
And Sean Nestle Boy Tracy.
Morning, afternoon, evening.
Paul,
Dusk.
Yesterday had a completely different character today, one of the first tests, where it was a real arm wrestle, a real lock of stasis and a struggle for supremacy. 300 for 6. The game was on fast forward for large parts of yesterday. I mean, how much of that is strategy, but from the Indian batters in particular? How much of it is just a response to the pitch?
That's a good question to which I don't really know the answer. I don't think, other than to say when Rohit bats in whatever form of the game, he's a joy to watch, and he was yesterday. Although because I wasn't on Gorilla, I didn't wake up at stupid o'clock to watch most of him. But he found his groove and he batted beautifully. If I were him, I'd be kicking myself a little bit. He had that possible reprieve, which I'm sure we'll go into in a bit more detail later on, but where he was given out, not out on the stumping. And then not an over or so later, he was holding out to a deep square leg on the sweep when he looked pretty much in control, really. He could have pressed on and made 200. But anyway, it was a bit churlish to knock him for the 161. He batted incredibly well. But he bats at a pace, he bats at his own pace. So I don't think it was any particular strategic imperative on his part. I think it was just him playing his normal game. Very well supported by Ajinkya Rahane. Who had a reprieve of his own before getting out straight away as well, and then you've got late in the day Rishabh Pant coming in doing what Rishabh Pant does. He's probably in my top 3 cricketers to watch in the world at the moment. Rishabh Pant, I love watching him play. Absolute box office, and he's only ever going to play one way. That said, 300 runs in a day on what looked like a 4th day pitch, never mind a first day one, is great going for India, and they are right in the driving seat in this game, despite some hearty efforts from England, I must say.
Yeah, there is a little bit of assistance for the spinners. There is some bounce, but England weren't able to make best use of it. Rohit in particular took advantage. England were pretty much perfect for the first test. It strikes me that we've seen why they had to be perfect.
Yes, I mean we've got new personnel in as well, which probably had an effect on things. I said to you earlier, I thought it reminded me of the first test a bit, where you had one guy dominating with the bat and backed up by one guy. I mean, if you're an England fan, I'd fear for England. Actually, I think you could see India dominate this test now. I don't know. It again, like we said earlier, it's a test match, and to call it at the moment, you can't. But it's an intriguing battle ahead, I think, and I think today is going to be fascinating. And as Grubby said, though, we've got the man in bat at the moment, and he is box office, and if he gets going, England are in trouble.
Yeah, it is 300 for 6. We resume with Akshar Patel on Test debut, about to face up. Will be facing up this morning first up. He's on 5 not out. Rishabh Pant is on 33 not out, and has the potential, Grubby, to take the lead from, or take the first innings score from somewhere, from something very competitive. 300, maybe 350 to something. It's not impossible that England could be looking at a first innings score of 400 that they have to back up against.
Yeah, and that would look huge, Knuckle, wouldn't it? Based on what we've seen on the pitch yesterday, you're right. It's taking spin very early in the game, and bounce, and bits of the pitch are being, when you see the slow motion replays of the spinners' deliveries, it's often taking a chunk out of the pitch already. So, Mr. Ashwin will be licking his lips, as will debutant Akshar. And I'm delighted to say that Kuldeep Yadav's in the side as well. So those 3 will have the England batters in their sights. And Joe Root, in the form of his life, as we've discussed at some great length, but he'll probably need to be. We might need to see another, to use another trademark phrase, batting masterclass from the England captain if England are to stay with India in this game.
Yeah, we've seen even the Indian batters taking a leaf to some extent out of Joe Root's book, which is a compliment, I guess. Sweeping extensively, particularly Rohit Sharma and Ajinkya Rahane. Rohit talked overnight, or last night and this morning, about deciding that the sweep shot was going to be a way to play. Basically, anything that was on the right line to do so, to sweep, and there was some element of wanting to play proactively because the pitch was. It also sort of to counter-attack against the fact that the pitch was doing a fair bit. It wasn't by any means a minefield. I think it was quite. It was an interesting pitch in that you could score runs on it, and there was something in it for the seamers and for the spinners as well. There was a little bit of carry and bounce, which is always helpful. We didn't see any reverse swing yesterday, but I mean it's in terms of England's bowling, it's a bit of a mixed bag, really.
Well, I just wonder how much seam we're going to see as the game progresses. I wonder, good to see Mohammad Siraj get his shot after his heroics in Australia, and the old warrior Ishant in the side. I just wonder. I can even see India opening up with at least one spinner. So I don't think. I stand to be corrected as ever, but I don't think we're going to see a right lot of the seamers from this point on in the game.
Well, one thing that I might cast ahead and ask people to keep an eye on is perhaps spinners with the new ball, and then the seamers coming more into the game with the old ball as it starts reverse swinging, as we saw a little bit in the first test to some extent. It's a slight upending of sort of traditional kind of English ways of doing things, but certainly I can see Ashwin maybe taking the new ball alongside Ishant. We should say hello to some people out there, but we'll just let you know that the GPL pot, and we'll come to more of the GPL stuff in a moment, starts at £41 this morning, which is not bad. But Nestlers, who's joined us out there in the social media verse?
Well, we've got on Hot Mic, we've got Kez, who wants some early wickets and England batting. Llewellyn Cave says Blake 7, the British answer to Star Trek, and he also says Spit the Dog is in agreement. Suman Nag has got 3 questions for us on Twitter. He says, what advice will you give England spinners for day 2 to bowl England out quickly? Will India need to do anything differently on this pitch to contain route later? And he also asks, is any plans to take wives, girlfriends or would-bes for lunch, dinner, or is cricket life? Valentine or no Valentine? Interesting question there. Mog says, hello, make with the cricket now, please. I can only see you and not the game. Why?
Thank you, very good.
Yes. Messi Jez says, morning all, I have to double take when I see the young, clean-shaven grubster not fulfilling his promise of grubbiness.
I'm pretty grubby. He's grubby. Still very grubby underneath everything. Don't worry.
Mog also says, interesting, I really only see one of you 3 as a proper cricket nerd. Is that fair? Well, I don't know really. The Light Rollers with us, joining you again from the beach whilst allegedly exercising during lockdown. And El Shopanos says, greetings you fantastic Gorilla Shire cricketers. Madhu Gawa is with us on Crick Tracker India and says hello.
Hello.
Ian Forth has joined us on YouTube. Impressed as ever by the fluency, insight and knowledge, making me nervous since I'm down for my first commentary stint with Grubby in a couple of weeks.
You'll be grand. You'll be
fine, just wing it. We all do.
Well, I mean, do some preparation if it makes you feel comfortable. But anyway, we shall jingle up the dramatis personae out there in the middle in Chennai.
The stroke plays diverse, and as sweet as a slice of Battenberg. Extra, 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 because if you can't score runs, then it's the spin, the spin, the spin, the spin, the spin, the spin, the spin that will bring him some wickets.
And bowling at them from the Pattabhiraman end, the end where he's had so much success in this series already. It's England's very impressive left-arm spinner.
Coming up, here's a face that I know. It's Jack Leach. Now coming up is Jack Leach. On Jack Leach.
Interesting to see who England go in with from the under pavilion as he starts left arm round the wicket to the left-handed Akshar Patel's slip and a short leg in place. It starts on leg stump and it's turned by the tall Akshar around the corner to short fine leg, and there is no run. New-ish ball England have. They only took it in the 85th over, I think. This one slides on with the arm, perhaps missing the seam, hitting the leather and just skidding on. Akshar blocks back to the bowler. There is no run, as well as the slip and the short leg. There's that man on the 45, a shortish, straightish mid-wicket, a mid-on, and a man back on the mid-wicket boundary, quite square. This one skids on past the outside edge. Ben Folkes, for once, doesn't take cleanly. I don't think Akshar got anywhere near that particularly. He was playing inside the line and just letting it slide across him. Leach holding for turn and bowling for turn. And yes, Ben Folkes spilled a chance that did not take edge, but nicely bowled by Leach. Forward comes Akshar playing this time with that ball. Sometimes not turning and sometimes turning into the offside. There is no run. Good start from Jack Leach. Found that line and length immediately from left arm around the wicket to Akshar, who goes back and defends this on the bounce to Pope at short leg. There is no run. Jack Leach was very impressive yesterday, Grubby.
Yeah, he's an intriguing character, isn't he? He fronted up, I think is the phrase, he fronted up to the media afterwards as well, which I think he's done a few times on the tours this winter. He's had some troubles, obviously. He was taken for 8, 9, 10 and over by Rishabh Pant in the previous game. Just took a liking to him, and Rishabh thought he would try and whack him out of the attack, and very nearly did. And I think he is a warrior. I think he's a bit of a fretter, old Leach. So, yeah, good to see him come back, and you just know when it's him and Pant facing off against each other, it's a good contest.
Tough old bugger, Jack Leach, as we've previously discussed. The man on the 45 has gone back on the boundary, and Leach has gone over the wicket. Ball's outside off stump. Akshar pads up a half appeal, which England decide not to use one of their 2 remaining reviews now that they had it reinstated after all that pad and bat and glove nonsense yesterday. But we won't talk about that because, frankly, I talked a lot about it yesterday and I'm slightly tired of it. Maiden to start with from Jack Leach. India 300 for 6.
George McPherson has joined us on YouTube. Says England need early wickets because the bowling was pretty inconsistent yesterday. And Jay Grover's with us. He says, good morning all. I've been hit with a black dog recently.
Sorry
I came here for cheer and now Grubby looks like a Daily Mail columnist. For fuck's sake.
Yeah,
El Chopanus,
Valentine's Day wishes to you.
El Chopanus tells us that Axar has an interesting cover under his helmet on the back of his head. Need to have a look at that.
Interesting choice that Joe Root has made, partnering Leach with what is still a very new ball from the under pavilion end. It's off spin to the 2 left-handers, a man who had a tricky day yesterday. He'll jingle him off after his first ball. It's the lusciously bearded recalled Moeen Ali bowling to Rishabh Pant. This one holds up in the pitch a little bit, and Pant pushes aerially through a gap up to long off, but he wasn't in particular control of that shot, was this man. The bowling of this man.
Our beard shouldn't touch. Move over, Amlo. I like it too much. Move over, Amlo. You're one hairy dish I love unconditionally. It's Moeen Ali.
Oh, beautiful from Moeen Ali. Ben Folkes whips off the bails, and this time all of the England players are pretty sure that they've pulled off the stumping. It was a lovely floated delivery from Moeen Ali. A little bit of dip, a little bit of drift and turn, and Ben Folkes whipped off the bails. Akshar Patel is walking, even though the third umpire, Anil Chaudhary, has been called for by the square leg umpire. It drew him forward, and he overstretched and did not manage to get the foot back down in time. In fact, he didn't get the foot back at all, and Ben Folkes has whipped off the bails. England have a wicket in the first over of the day. Moeen Ali has a third. India 301 for 6.
Go OUT the window, go OUT the window, go OUT the window, 'cause OUT spells out.
Yesterday was a day of pies and beauties for Moeen Ali, and that, Grubby, was a beauty.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, you said it was a rather surprising choice to open with Moeen, but, you know, frankly, if you're the right arm off spinner and you've got 2 left-handers on a pitch that's taking spin and you're not bowling, there's something a bit wrong. Much talk and much conjecture as ever about Moeen's place in the side and his relative worth or whatever, but that was a lovely ball so early in the day, and an excellent piece of wicket-keeping from the redoubtable Ben Folkes, who Jack Russell makes the best wicket-keeper standing up to the stumps in the world, and who am I to argue with Jack Russell?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably throw in Ridhaman Saha, the Indian backup wicket-keeper, in there as a potential option, but Folkes is a beautiful operator to watch. It was a relatively simple stumping, but he made it look very simple and very fluent. very much into the tail now, England, and out comes India's tall, shotless, but obdurate number 9.
Ishant Sharma's gonna get you, gonna look you right in the face. Better get yourself together, darling. Learn how to play pace.
3 men round the back to Ishant, who stretches those long legs forward and blocks back to the bowler. There is no run.
Like me. Who in the hell do you think you are? A superstar? Well, right you are.
A beautiful bit of bowling from Moeen Ali. And you're right, Grubby, to some extent. Well, it's Joe Root showing faith with him and obviously going with the matchups. Moeen might have a second wicket with a pretty poor delivery. It was a low full toss that Ishant Sharma has somehow contrived to top edge straight to the dread pirate Rory Burns at mid-wicket. It was a shovelly, awkward-looking sweep. He didn't get his hands out in front of him properly, and it's looped up off the top edge. Simple catch. Moeen Ali has 2 wickets in the over, and Ishant Sharma goes for a duck that he will not care to be reminded of.
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle.
It was slightly ugly cricket, really.
Village.
Oh, it was a full toss. He tried to stretch out. He wasn't quite sure whether to sweep it or just to block it. In the end, he sort of did neither. All the momentum stopped, and it just looped up off the top edge to Rory Burns. It's a very, very simple catch. Moeen now has 4, in fact. 4 for 113, and things are looking a little bit rosier.
Well, he got 2 big wickets yesterday. I mean, I know he went for a few, and his economy rate is a bit of an issue, but got 2 big fish yesterday. He's fine. He's fine. Sorry, Nestlers, you were about to say.
Well, he does that, doesn't he?
Indeed.
You know, he's done it his whole career. You sort of write him off, and then back he comes.
Yeah, we should, of course, remember it's his first-class game in quite a while, Moeen Ali. He was showing signs of rust, and I think to a great extent, if you weren't going to pick him on this tour, you're essentially saying his Test career was over, and it seems that England aren't ready to do that. And I, for one, I'm glad of that fact. I think he can be of great value to England. Anyway, out to the middle comes a man who I'm sure will be very much looking forward to bowling on this, playing his first Test in a little while as well.
I thought that cruelty was science fiction until I saw him today. Now that your death is my addiction, I've thrown all that virat junk away.
Left-hander that Moeen's got to bowl to. He stretches forward and blocks back to the bowler. There is no run. Imagine that Rishabh Pant will be taking quite a lot of the strike from now on, and perhaps going even more aggressively than he might be otherwise. Moeen is actually laughing at that delivery that got Ishant Sharma out. Last ball of an interesting over, which Kuldeep squirts off the outside part of the bat. Rishabh Pant says, "What are you thinking? Don't run. I'm taking all the strikes, Sonny Jim." It squirts off the outside part of the bat. Backward point goes around 2 field. So a great start for England this morning. 2 overs, 2 wickets, only 1 run conceded. India 301 for 8.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go on, Nestor, sorry.
I was going to say, Matt O'Donnell's with us. He said he's watching in La Puente Cricket Club with Gus the Pace, Scott the keeper, Alex the Green Bay Packer fan, and meant to be batsman. We have been telling Alex he can't bat anymore. Time to retire. El Shopanos says hopefully it's a long time away, but God Ashwin has to open with the new ball for India. Tim Everington's joined us. Afternoons, Gorillas. Just a question with Hot Mic. Is there a button that allows the stream to be synced properly?
Not from our end. You can sync it manually from your end, but the option to do so from us seems to have disappeared, which is annoying.
Hot Mic normally gives you that option, doesn't it?
You can sync it manually. Oh, very interesting. With the Joe Root has gone matchups again, as he did yesterday to some extent. With some success, he's gone right-hander, right arm off spinner to left-hander, and he's brought himself on.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a picked, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
1 for 15 of his 8 interesting overs yesterday. Possibly could have bowled a little bit more, but that's a bit after tiny. Got the wicket of R. Ashwin. Just prodding to short leg, a classic off spinner's dismissal. Rishabh Pant facing up to Joe Root. You don't imagine he'll be standing on ceremony. There's a slip.
Strap yourselves in.
A short mid wicket and a short extra cover, both quite straight. Root in. Pant comes down the track, and Root, almost seeing him coming, fires this in very flat and round arm. And Pant blocks back to the bowler. There is no run. Seen a bit of bounce that defeated Akshar Patel for Moeen's first wicket. And spinners bowling with a new ball, one to watch. Ooh, big sweep from Rishabh Pant, but he didn't get very close to the pitch of the ball at all, and rather played over the top of it in bottom edges, and ended up rather sitting on the ball. Rishabh Pant making his intentions clear, although they frankly were already clear. There is no run.
Not a man to hide the light under the bushel.
Oh, down the track, and that's gone absolutely miles. Just a pickup shot from Rishabh Pant, and away it sails into the crowd. 6 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's no less thrilling for its predictability, is it?
Well, I mean, any aggressive lower order batter would be doing the same with the tail, particularly with this tail. Yeah, it was a regulation off break on off stump. Down the track came Rishabh Pant. 1 step, 2 steps, and away it goes.
He almost keeled over like a drunk at a wedding there as well, didn't he, Rishabh? Which he does sometimes, and he plays that over the shoulder sort of lap sweep as well.
Yeah,
Lovely.
he doesn't. His base is not as solid as some, but it's fair to say it works for him. He goes back to this one and cuts off the stumps. Hands to mouth from Joe Root and hands to head from Ben Foakes, but I think he was in fair control of that shot and guides it away past backward point for a single, exposing Kuldeep to 2 balls from the Demon Root.
Well, not that time is a factor in the game, but losing those early wickets may not be the worst thing in the world for India, because I'm sure they're absolutely champing at the bit to be out there bowling.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, you'd want as many runs as you can get. I mean, Rohit Sharma said this morning, actually, to the media that India want 350 and then see from there. Rishabh Pant is going to have to be the man who gets them most of the way there. Kuldeep is not renowned for his batting, neither is Mohammad Siraj. Slip in a gully and a short leg as Kuldeep plays a delivery he possibly doesn't need to play at, but defends it comfortably enough to point, and there is no run. There's a short third man, quite fine, a backward point, cover, a mid off, a mid on. And that's squirted off the sort of inside shoulder of the bat through backward square leg, short leg. The short leg is in front of square for the one that just pops up in front. And Kuldeep survives, then over from the Demon Root. And India move to 308 for 8. Rishabh Pant will be back on strike.
Yes. Where are we? We have Jay Grover. I've said this before, but when Moeen does well, all is right with the world, apart from Grubby's lack of beard, so I need 2 more wickets. He also says, fuck, that wasn't an attempt to be pre-cognitive. I can't say it this time in the morning. El Schopenhauer says, England can't get their spinners to pick wickets off good balls only, can they? First best, now Mo bowling clever disguised full toss traps. Silver Humber's with us, says, good morning, Gorillas. Glad I joined you early for these Moeen moments. Here's to more waddlers. Why did I miss that handy scorecard? Did I miss why the handy scorecard disappeared from your homepage?
It doesn't seem to be working, is all I can say, which is quite annoying, to be honest. It is quite handy. We haven't done anything different to it, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
The plugin's plugged out.
It's been an interesting couple of days on Guerrilla Cricket. Moeen continuing to Rishabh Pant. The entire offside field is back. It doesn't really matter where the field. I was going to say it doesn't matter where the field are when you bowl that, but actually Moeen Ali nearly took a return catch of his own bowling. It was a full toss. Pant came down the track and smashed it back straight. Moeen flung his hands up and I think did get a hand to it, so technically it goes down as a drop, but boy, Rishabh Pant hit that hard.
That went like a tracer bullet.
And by the time Moeen got his hand up, it was almost past him.
Do we think that Mo's struggling with the relatively new ball, a bit slippy, and that hence the full tosses?
He was bowling full tosses with the old ball yesterday. He's
can't use that as an excuse then.
No, his action isn't quite. The Moeen is not fully operational. I think it's fair to say. Rishabh Pant motored to 45 now, closing in on another 50. His 3 innings in India so far: 92, 92, and 91.
Got 4 90s in his Test career, hasn't he?
Yes, indeed. He got a 90 in the Sydney Test that India saved, and then an 80-odd not out in the one that they won. Another full toss down the track, and Rishabh Pant has smoked that hard and flat over the umpire. Back-to-back fours down the ground off Moeen Ali. Full tosses. That was a hit me ball, and boy did Rishabh Pant hit it.
He doesn't mess about, does he?
No, and it's completely right for the situation.
Yeah.
And it's how Rishabh Pant is going to be most effective in most situations. Moeen does land this one. It's a little bit of bounce, and Pant blocks from the crease on the bounce to slip, and there is no run.
I'd call it agricultural, but it's a bit doing him a bit of a disservice. But it was brutal, let's say. Yeah,
he's got a big swing, but it's very well controlled from Rishabh Pant. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's a quality batter. He is. He's a quality aggressive batter, not a hitter, a slogger rather. He is a hitter. Down the track comes Pant, then has to bail out of his attempted aggressive stroke and block this on the bounce to leg. They come through for the single, and that is 50 for Rishabh Pant. As I say, his fourth in 4 innings. In the 4 innings he's played in India, overall his 8th 50-plus score in Test match cricket, and it's been a potentially very useful one for India.
50 runs, your 50 runs. Well done, well done, well done, well done. 50 runs, your 50 runs. The job is only just begun.
Well, let's see how much more of the job there is to do, but he's done the part of it he's had to do well. 50 off 65 balls, 7 fours and 2 sixes. India 317 for 8. Again, Kuldeep gets 2 balls to defend and has lots of friends for company. And one of those friends at silly mid-off, forward silly point really takes this ball as Kuldeep blocks back to him. Yes, there's a slip the gully, the silly point just in front of square, and the short leg just in front of square. Moeen in edged and just short of Ben Stokes as Kuldeep played with pretty soft hands. No chance of that. Carrying 9 runs off the over. Pant is back on strike. Good result for India. They're 317 for 8.
Jay Grover would like to know, Grubby, is your door a portal? The demons want to come through to straighten your picture.
Yes.
Yes. Martin Lawrence says, hello, random question I know, but with the crowds in attendance, do the umpires have hand sanitizer in their pockets like we saw in Australia?
Quite possible.
Haven't seen it, but it is quite possible that that's the case. I was going to say crowd catches, but I don't think many people will be queuing up to catch shots off Rishabh Pant.
I haven't seen much wiping of the ball with sort of, the sanitised cloths in India so far.
No, we saw it a bit during the IPL. I believe that was in the UAE, but yeah, it could happen. Root in throws this very wide outside Rishabh Pant's off stump, trying to get him to hole out to one of those fielders on the offside boundary, and there are a few of them. Pant resists. There is no run. He's waiting for something straighter. It's a very scattered field. There's a slip and everyone a short fine leg, and everyone else has pretty much run away. This is again thrown very wide outside off stump, tempting stuff from teaser Root, and there is no run.
I asked a question yesterday about Root. When do we take him seriously as a bowler?
Well, he's a useful part-timer, but there's no doubt this one fired in very flat outside off stump, and Pant disdainfully watches it through to Ben Folkes.
And I'm convinced he's taken a leaf out of Ravi Jadeja's book from the 2016 tour.
Throws this one very high, really kind of over the back of the hand, trying to get the ball really tossed up. And again, Rishabh Pant watches it and says, "Bowl me something proper." But it's a perfectly legitimate tactic from Joe Root, and it seems to be working for dot balls. Now the field comes up somewhat. There's an interesting field. I think there's a field almost at long stop down there. Very, very fine on the long leg boundary, I guess, for the paddle sweep. Covers come up. There's a long conversation between Root and Stokes about what he wants the field to be to try and ensure that Kuldeep Yadav is on strike for the next over. I would be tempted. I understand Root and Moeen bowling, but I would be tempted to go to Stuart Broad to the left-handers. He does bowl very well to the left-handers round the wicket.
A lot of chatter with Stokesy there.
I know, I know. Once again, a big pause in the game. I know, Knuckle, you don't like me to go on about overrates, but seriously.
Root in. And Punt comes almost came down the track before the ball was bowled, which is brave to a spinner, and then has to adjust his feet to make sure that he gets outside off stump to it and pokes it out to point. There was a lot going on there in that delivery. So he came down the track well outside off stump, closed himself off in almost Chandrapal or Fawad Alam style, and then had to open himself out to get bat on ball. Maybe could have fired that down the leg side given how early Pant went, but I'll give the credit to Rishabh Pant for manufacturing a single that didn't appear to be on. Kuldeep Yadav just has one ball to block, or indeed leave, which he does. Through to the keeper, there is no run. A very interesting and a tactical win of sorts for England in that over. 1 run off it, but Pant is still on strike. India 318 for 8. We may be in for a slightly weird period where India, well, I think we are already in a slightly weird period where England are only trying to get one batter out.
This is where Test series. Well, Test cricket is wonderful, of course it is, and this is where the Test series have these tremendous subplots going on, and the Root firing it wide there and tempting Rishabh Pant. We saw him get out, skewing one over the offside in the first Test, and just giving those little dangling those carrots in front of him. But for the most part, he was very sensible, and then he very intelligently picked up the strike off the penultimate ball of the over, didn't he? So good marshalling of the tail.
Yeah, the idea that Rishabh Pant is some mindless hitter is just nonsense. I mean, you look at his first class record. Down the track he comes and sort of yorks himself and ends up driving this all along the ground to Dan Lawrence down there at long off. It might have been 2 if they'd wanted it, but it's a quick outfield, so they decide against it. There is no run. There's Moeen is in again, looking for a fifer. Say what you like about Moeen, he is a very effective wicket taker. This is outside off stump and left alone by Pant. Through to the keeper, there is no run. I can say the same of Dominic Best, of course, but Moeen has a lot of credit in the bank. Yes, there's a slip and a short fine leg, and everyone else is back on the boundary. Shortish and flattish and cut by Pant. I wonder if they'll try and run 2 here. Dominic Sibley out there. No. The Kuldeep and Pant stay where they are. There is no run. Pant looks accusingly at his bat for reasons unknown. There's I've said this before, scatter on Brian Lara cricket. Down the track comes Pant, and he gets to the pitch of that one all right and sends it screaming back over the bowler's head. That one was still going up as it cleared the rope. Beautiful shot, 6 runs.
Having been struck by the bats, the ball pitches beyond the boundary. It's a 6.
Gorgeous straight hitting.
Well, El Chopanov says Pant pays agricultural shots and farms the strike. Old Pant Donald.
Very good.
He is so much more than that, absolutely.
Oh yeah. I agree with what you said earlier, Grubby. I think he's the most exciting batsman in men's cricket right now.
He's a joy to watch.
Yeah.
Very few people can do what Rishabh Pant can do as well as he can do it. Being able to score this quickly and this heavily is very, very difficult. This one turns and bounces and through to the deadly gloves of Ben Foakes as Rishabh Pant tries to sort of cut. There is no run. So what I mean about the spinners perhaps being more effective with the new ball because of how much bounce there is. Certainly Ashwin and maybe Akshar as well will be desirous to get to the orb in hand. Last ball of the over. Oh, and Moeen's done well there because he's kept Kuldeep on strike. This one he fired in a little bit quicker and it turned from just outside off stump and beat Rishabh Pant's attempted guide down to third man. And interesting, 6 runs off the over, but Kuldeep will be on strike for the start of the next. So kind of a win for England.
Jay Grover's not happy with you, Grubby. He says, I'm not being funny, Paul, but after your disgraceful shave, which, for Valentine's, fair dues, but what's with those wee chin pubes, mind? Just got it. Grubby looks like a lead singer in a 90s nu metal band.
Ouch!
Oh yeah, excellent. I could.
He's not happy with your facial hair at all, is he?
No one should be described as having to do anything to do with new metal.
Just call me Limp Bizkit.
Ew.
It was a terrible genre, wasn't it?
It had almost no redeeming features, and I'm not someone who gets down on individual genres or such things, but Root in and Kuldeep stretches forward and leaves this as it takes a puff out of the surface through to Ben Folks, and there is no run. There's the slip and the gully and the short leg. Punt and Kuldeep have a little chat in the middle about how they're going to get this single, or indeed if Kuldeep's just going to play out Root and let Punt take on Moeen. There's a backward point, a cover, a shortish, straightish extra cover, a mid-off, quite straight as Root is in. Kuldeep forward solidly and blocks into the offside. There is no run. He's never going to score many runs, Kuldeep Yadav. He's not completely useless with that forward defensive. Certainly not against Joe Root's part-time off-spin. This is why I think it might not be too long before Broad is given the ball to see what he can do. Fired in flatter and straighter, and Kuldeep defends. Short leg does the needful, and there is no run.
So I drew the comparison between Root and Jadeja, and what I mean by that is a lot of round arm stuff, which is from Jadeja on the previous tour.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. Some people were comparing him to Kedar Jadhav yesterday.
Yes, I saw that.
Very round arm and very sort of scrambled seam or saucer seam kind of. Fired in much flatter from Root, and Kuldeep was able to get onto the front foot and block solidly to extra cover. There is no run.
I like your description of Kedar's bowling action as right arm underground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been released by the Chennai Super Kings. We might not be seeing him in this year's IPL unless someone takes a punt on him.
Takes a Rishabh on him.
Penultimate ball of the over from Joseph Edward Root. Tosses this up, and Kuldeep Yadav nearly squeezes this back onto his own stumps as he tries to defend to point, and the ball dies off inside edge or leading edge and threatens to roll through his legs but doesn't. There is no run. Last ball of the over. Kuldeep Yadav on a very handy none not out of 12. And if it's none out of 13, then you're perfectly happy. And down on one knee, a quite stylish forward defensive stroke. And blocked into the offside. There is no run. First half hour of the morning gone. An interesting one it's been. 2 wickets in the over for Moeen Ali, but a few runs as well. 24 runs in that time. India 324 for 8. We'll have a change. We'll have a 3-person change. As Al Hotchkiss will be reading your social media, Ollie Turnbull will be your summariser, and on ball by ball, Tony the Bishop.
Hello, Knuckle, how are you? I just put my headphones on in time to hear he's not completely useless. Now, I'm rather hoping that might have been about one of the 2 participants at the crease, which I'm assuming wasn't Rishabh Pant.
Kuldeep Yadav, yes.
Oh, thank God for that. I thought, blimey, I haven't even got my headphones on yet, and this is what I'm hearing. 324 for 8. Eventful morning already. Goodness me, Al. How are you?
I'm okay, Tony. How are you? Good morning, and good morning to everybody.
I very much enjoyed your article last night, I must
Thank
say,
you
on
very
our
much.
new news feature. Good review of the day. And another warm welcome back to Ollie Turnbull. Hello, Ollie.
Good morning, everybody, and what a fascinating few overs of cricket we've got this morning already. And looking forward to the next kind of 3 or 4 with Pant on the charge.
Are you with Hendo, Ollie? India already have more than enough on this track?
For England to win from here would be one of our greatest wins, in my opinion. Now, facing Ashwin on this track for 2 innings worth, oof. Wouldn't fancy myself.
Time will tell. I saw another comment about, English batsmen are used to April wickets with, with the ball moving square at 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. Moving square at 65 odd shouldn't really trouble them.
The Moeen Ali experiment is over.
Well, it is indeed, and we have a change of bowling. It is Ollie Stone back into the attack. Remember, got the new ball at 84.5 overs. We'll jingle him up.
I wish my papa was an Ollie Stone, and any granny comes to mix with his own. I wish my papa's Ollie Stone.
And the bat dropped beautifully on that. They'll look for 2. Will they? No, they won't. So keeping that scoreboard turning, every run a bonus really for India. Obviously want to keep Rishabh Pant on strike. That will be their intent. He's already signalled his intent with an enormous 6 off. Was he hit 2 sixes off Moeen Ali this morning? I think he has, and he's absolutely been crucifying poor England to all points, hasn't he?
He's hit 1 off Root, 1 off Ali, as well as 2 brutal 4s straight down the ground to Ali.
He likes to share his brutality around then, and he might as well, to be honest. 8 wickets down. Great start for England. They needed to have that. So we shall see now. For all of a sudden, everything seems to have stopped for a while. Okay, now we should be back into the action.
How do you feel how do you feel if you're Stuart Broad here? You know, as a senior, you know, leading the pace attack, and Ollie Stone gets the ball before you.
I'll hold that thought for a second. The Stone is in around the wicket, and it's short, and it thumps into the human target, cool deep, and he seems to have worn it well, as Rod Stewart once nearly sang. Took it right on the shoulder and up it popped, but there was no bat involved, despite Ollie Pope being in like Flynn at a speed to just in case there was a catch. There wasn't. That's a good question, Ollie. I don't know. Realistic, I think. Stone's got that extra yard or 2 of pace, hasn't he?
Yeah,
and that may be all there is to offer at the moment on this track.
After the next ball, do you want a tweet, a stat, and a record?
In any order you like.
I can give you all 3 in one go.
You are driving.
I can give you all 3 in one go.
As the left-handed Kuldeep is going to face Ollie Stone. He's taken that one on the shoulder. He appears to be well. England have brought in an extra slip. That might not be a surprise. And they have the 2 slips in place, and Stone is taken the edge straight into the gloves of the extremely capable folks, and the wicket has gone. 9 are down, and it's 325. Well bowled, Ollie Stone. There's your answer, Al. Oh, Ollie.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's really good. Yeah, really good delivery, and there's a bit of pace about him, like you say. You know, I haven't seen Ollie Stone too much, obviously, since his debut against Ireland, wasn't it, 18 months ago? But no, he actually looks a real bowler to me. I think he's got some huge potential. People have talked him up, and I think it's great to see the captain give him the confidence to say, "Go and clear up the tail for us here." You know, almost in the Joffa role. You know, come and rough him up, and you know, and I think it's the bouncer before him probably got him here.
We've got a few Ollies involved this morning, haven't we?
Yeah.
As well as we got Turnbull, Pope, and Stone, that well-known firm of solicitors, or an advertising agency.
An interesting thing to consider would have been that Pant took the single after first ball and exposed him.
Let's jingle up the new man anyway. It's going to be our friend Siraj, who isn't renowned for his batting, it must be said.
When you gotta fight your way from the streets, gotta find a way to land in your food. There's only one man who could save us now. It's Mama Siraj.
Take a strike to face the successful Ollie Stone. Interesting time. Other Ollie Turnbull. Obviously, I'm not talking to Ollie Stone. If I could, I'd let him just take a wicket. Timing of the new ball, 84.5, or was it 84.5 towards the end of an over? Bit odd, I thought. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I did it once in captaincy. I took the ball three balls in an over, and the next 3 balls went for 4. So sometimes, you know, a bit of actual pace in the ball, and the hardness in the ball, actually, sometimes, you know, it goes against you sometimes. If you're not going to bring the seamers on.
2 slips in the gully, and Siraj says, "Thank you very much. It's short, it's wide." He lofts it over point where he's totally vacant for one of these. What a start for him.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
What a shot
He
that
played
was.
that well. He just stepped back. He just leant back, really, angled the bat.
It was almost Calypso cricket there. It's a West Indian style, like, you know.
It was beautiful shot by Mohammad Siraj.
I love the fact that he probably looked at Rishabh Pant and just went, "What's the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I should be number 10."
Well, this is. He may well think that. Oh, beautifully in Australia, of course, didn't he? He's going to bring in again. Is Stone over the wicket? He's going to repeat the performance, and this time though, he's just steered it straight. Has he? What's going on?
He's out.
He has, didn't he? Yes, he's out. I was going to say he steered it straight into the gloves of the keeper. He's gone. India are all out for 329. Some would argue it's enough. We'll just have another quick look at that before the jingle. It was short and straight into the upraised gloves of Ben Folkes. 329, and we'll just say a farewell to the short but glorious innings of Siraj.
How's that? You missed about, I caught you out. How's that?
That's about as well as it could have gone for England this morning. 29 for 4.
Yeah, they must have been expecting that counter-attack, wouldn't you say, Ollie?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think England done pretty well there. Burns bowled an okay spell, but to get them out for 24 runs, they've given themselves a chance at least. But I'm not sure what Siraj was really doing there. If you're Pant at the other end, you're probably pretty furious, saying just leave those and get me back and strike them next over. But
well, at 304.6 overnight, remember, were India. I will just quickly let you know the shenanigans of this morning. Axar Patel was stumped quite magnificently by Ben Folkes. What a piece of work that was. If ever you wanted a demonstration of the expertise of Ben Folkes behind the stumps, that was it. Ishant Sharma didn't last long, just 2 balls in fact, before being caught by Rory Burns off the bowling of Moeen Ali. So 2 for Moeen Ali this morning. He will certainly be feeling better about life. Kuldeep Yadav caught behind off Ollie Stone, and then Ollie Stone sweeping things up for the day by also having Mohammad Siraj caught behind. So 329 is what India finished on. If you're thinking about the GPL today, by the way, remember that India started on 300 overnight. The pot is £41, but the more you top it up collectively, the more someone has the chance to win. Remember, all you have to do is to guess the amount of runs to be scored in the day. You go to our website, all the instructions are clear from there. It's I think it's £1, isn't it, Knuckle? Am I right in saying £1 a bet? From my memory.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Some weird stuff. There we go. £1 a bet. You win whatever is in the pot if you guess the number of runs scored in the day. Currently a very helpful 41 quid. So, gentlemen, $64,000 question. 329. What is in your mind right now, Al, if you are Joe Root?
That we just go out and bat our game. It's a handy first innings total, but you go out to Burns and Sibley and you say we need to take into consideration that you might be facing Ashwin first up, but we have our plan. Stick to our plan.
I expect you to have your pads on at lunchtime.
Yeah.
I think England will be positive in defence. They're going to have to. It's attritional stuff. Ashwin's going to probably bowl 35 overs today. It's going to be attritional, but they'll be positive in defence. They've got to rotate the strike well. They can't get bogged down, and I think that's what England have seemed to do really well. In the last test in Sri Lanka, they've rotated the strike well. And they've been positive against the spinners, not just smashing them for 6 and all that. It's actually been positive in defence and finding the singles, working the strike. And I think certainly with Burns and Sibley in the last, before Rory Burns had his reverse sweep when we were on commentary last time, they were looking in control and they were actually dominating the spinners, and that domination wasn't just smash, it was actually 3 singles and over. And that, in a weird way, in Test cricket is actually dominating. And, they were setting the tone and the tempo. So I think it's important they can see through Ashwin till lunch. They can get in there and get themselves set, because there's going to be attritional cricket from now on. There's no doubt, Ashwin on this pitch is going to be a handful.
Well, yes, he will, most definitely. I just did go through the scorecard, Knuckle. You want me to go through the whole scorecard? it'd be rather repetitive, but I will. Sharma was out of course for 161. Caught Ali bowled Leach. Shubman Gill, LBW to Ollie Stone. He went early, just 3 balls. Shouldered arms, didn't he? Which was extraordinary. He was out for a duck. Pujara, quite a low score for him. 21. Caught Stokes bowled Leach. Virat Kohli, of course, was bowled, but in his own mind was not out by Moeen Ali. He had to go nonetheless. Ajinkya Rahane rediscovered some form, Zen style, if you read Hendo's article last night. 67 for him of 149 he faced. He was also bowled by Ali. Rishabh Pant, the not out batsman, another 50 plus score for him. Ashwin, steady 13. Axar Patel, well, we talked about the rest and told you. I'll give you the bowling figures. None for 37 for Stuart Broad. 3 for 47 for Ollie Stone. 2 for 78 for Jack Leach. A definite mention there in dispatches, I think, for Ollie Stone. We'll come back and talk about the bowling in more detail. 4 wickets for Moeen Ali. 4 for 128. Although he did have a moment where he was fairly expensive. Ben Stokes only none for 16. Just 2 overs, and they went for 8 apiece. And Joe Root, new ball bowler Joe Root, 1 for 23. Let's talk about the bowling, chaps. Ollie Stone, I think he's more than justified his inclusion, given Broad, as you pointed out, has not taken a wicket, number 37, and 2 for 43 off considerably more overs for Stone. What do we make of his bowling, Ollie?
I thought it was, he's got something about him. I think he's got, like you say, he's got a little extra yard of pace. He seems to be aggressive. He wants to hit the surface. I'm probably talking him into an Ashes spot there in terms of the surface he's going to play down under. And actually, you can see the thinking. I was a bit surprised when he did play in this test, but I was actually really quite impressed. He seems to got a bit of aggression about him. He wants to run into the captain. So you can see why he kind of shadows Jofra in the squad. Maybe he come in that role. And I was really impressed with him, and you can see the future. I think he'll definitely be part of a future England attack. He looks fit and healthy now.
If he can
really
stay
impressed.
fit.
Exactly, and that's the class of every one of these New England seamers coming on. It's just, can they stay fit, and can we get 4 tests in a 5-test series out of them? So,
and let's also then Moeen Ali went for over 100. Yep. Never a great landmark for a bowler. Yep. But at the end of the day, he's come up with 4 wickets, and as I say, if you watch Moeen Ali bowl, you start to fear facing Ashwin, don't you? Because Moeen Ali did rather well, I thought.
It depends which bits of Moeen Ali you want to really concentrate on. No, the glass is either half empty or half full, depending on. So, if you were to speak to some of our other colleagues, they would tell you that it's simply unsustainable and uncontrollable. But if you speak to other of our erstwhile colleagues, they'll tell you that 4 wickets is 4 wickets. That it's almost the price of admission. I think you need to take into account that 4 for 120 odd in your first game after 16 months or so. I think he's done jolly well.
I think 4.5 and over, which was Ben Stokes, who is a bit of an outlier given that he only bowled 2.
Yeah,
was obviously that's an average of 32.
It was
high end, I think.
It was too easy to take runs off him yesterday, and it wasn't that. But I would. The bit that I would turn around and say is that if it was that Moeen Ali had been playing regularly over the course of the last year or so, in terms of first class cricket, probably 4 for 120 wouldn't have been his final figures. So you have to take wider context into context.
Right. I'm with you, taking the wider context into context. Yes, indeed. No, I'm with you. Jack Leach, Ollie, kind of steady role for him, wasn't it?
Do you know what? He's probably established himself as England's number 1 spinner.
He was the pick of the bowlers yesterday.
Yeah. He's one who looked like he had control. He had a plan. He knew where the ball was coming out, which was always great. He had a great tempo when he bowled as well. I think he was desperately unlucky as well. I think in another day he could have had a lot more. I think what Moeen Ali kind of is almost the contrast to Jack Lees. If you're a batsman, you kind of want to go on the offence against Moeen Ali because you know you're going to get the bad stuff. So you're always looking to go on the offensive. So inherently, he becomes a bit more dangerous. But I thought Leach bowled beautifully yesterday, and I think he probably penciled himself in as England's number one spinner currently. You know, and he's the number one.
Just another couple of mentions in dispatches. I think we should.
He had a fascinating battle all the way through yesterday with Sharma.
Mm.
You know, and I know you look at it and you go, well, Sharma scored 161 runs. What sort of battle is that? But there were a couple of times where Sharma looked more uncomfortable against Leach than he looked against anybody else.
Mm. Yeah, I think he can. I think it's just the way he builds some pressure as well. I think his only England bowler really yesterday saw actually build some actual pressure on the batsman, you know, and in spells. And I think that's where Moeen, and you know, I just don't think he gets enough pressure against the batsman. And he you know, obviously Sibley's coming out the bat here, but we'll talk a lot longer later. But no, I was very impressed with Leach yesterday.
Well, 87, of course, and 16 for him at Chennai in the first.
We should have some jingles, I guess.
It is. We should jingle up the two England openers. Here we go.
He's got the drive of a champion from Surrey. His mustache is ugly, got a shot finally, and his name is Rory Bird. Efficient batting, he made huge runs through Masquerade by word of mouth. This guy's really talented. Dominic Sibley.
Well, the bowler is going to be Ishant Sharma. We will jingle him a couple of balls into the over. Virat Kohli's clapping his hands in expectation and encouragement for his troops.
We didn't look at any tweets in the innings break, so you're going to need to let me look at tweets.
Oh Lord, we did, didn't we? We will. As Sharma's around the wicket, left alone outside the off stump by Burns, whose mullety hair is dangling out in rat's tails from behind the back of his helmet. I'm really not sure about that haircut, but that's probably speaking just as a man who could no longer grow his hair like that if he wanted to. Might just be a kind of a jealousy. And, you know, acknowledgement to the fact that barbers, if you're playing by the rules, unlike Premier League footballers, barbers are hard to find during lockdown. But honestly, get rid of it, Rory. It's a shocker.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
Burns again. Virat Kohli's being very vocal with his troops to encourage them. Again, bit of swing and swung away from Burns, who wants absolutely nothing to do with it, and through to Rishabh Pant, the not-out batsman for India, of course. It goes. Let's jingle up Ishant Sharma, who's bowling from the Parapatam gate end.
Ishant Sharma's gonna get you, gonna look you right in the face. Better get yourself together, darling. Learn how to play pace. How in the world you gonna see netting against trundlers like me? Who in the hell do you think you are? A superstar?
Two slips for Burns. That's full. There's a huge shout. Sharma's utterly convinced, and the finger goes up.
That.
You say that looked pretty squarely on to me, Ollie.
I think that's umpire score for me.
He's totally bullied the umpire into that.
Well, that's we have a divergent opinions. We will get. It looked to me fairly low. It pitched shade outside.
I was definitely in. Were you definitely in? I don't know.
Bumps him bang on the knee roll. Is he just a shade outside of leg? Anil Chaudhary is the third umpire today.
Yeah, but he'll look at everything today.
Well, of course, after yesterday, missing that bat pad was not impressive. Pitches outside off. The impact in line. Wicket umpire's call. Just kissing really the top of Burns's leg stump, and Rory Burns, I'm afraid, has to go. And just like India were, England are 0 for 1.
It's definitely unlucky.
Oh, why don't you try and squeeze us a few messages in now? We were very remiss, and that was
right. Andrew Sparrow, what's the highest innings score without any extras? Because England conceded no extras. This is courtesy of Andy Zaltzman that I looked at yesterday. The longest innings of a Test match before conceding an extra previously was 92.2 overs, which England exceeded. So the first innings was the longest Test innings that anyone has bowled without bowling any extras. Messi Jez Pant currently has an average of 46 at a strike rate of over 70. By comparison, Gilchrist in 96 Tests had an average of 47.6 at a strike rate of 82. Trying to get some comparison here. Dasgupta, so what does it signal when puffs of dust come off the pitch?
A tough time.
A tough time for
the batsman. Well, the new man is soon going to be at the crease. We're going to jingle him up. It's going to be Dan Lawrence.
What time is it? 10 time. Yo, I'm Dan Lawrence. To the sea.
Met squarely by Lawrence. Again, it didn't get up that much. 2 slips and a gully for Ishant Sharma. We're looking again at that dismissal.
That's hitting so little of leg stump I think that's the umpire's call makes it look like it saves the umpire, but that's a poor decision in my eyes.
When you say that, I mean it was hitting.
Really?
It's different people see different things. I saw it as out as soon as I saw it.
Well, it's that.
But then
if you watch the appeal, he's not giving that out until
you think he bought that. You think he bought that? 2 slips go down. Forward comes Lawrence. It's really on the leg stump of the right-handed Lawrence, and it's pushed back to the bowler. There's no run.
Nestle boy tries to use some of the words that Knuckle used in order to describe some of the batsmen. Tony Bishop, he's not completely useless. That's a new tagline. That's lovely. Jay Grover, Al's Totoro always makes me happy. Hooray. Well, glad to hear that you're happy, Jay.
That's always the riposte. If anyone ever says to you, I'm not a complete idiot, the answer is always, why? Which bit of you is missing?
Yeah. Jay Grover wants to know if you're on the roids, Ollie. He's just hench. That's the way you've got to look at it. Just hench.
Hopefully that's not what you're sitting on. But this one is shades past the outside edge of Lawrence. Sharma seems to have ended up on his backside. It was through to Rishabh Pant, but there was enough swing there. And what a first over from Ishant Sharma. He's removed the mulleted Rory Burns. That one, he slid his fingers across and got the ball to move away past the outside edge of Lawrence. Taken by Pant at shoulder height. England are 0 for 1, right under the pump here. And Ishant Sharma's bowled a beauty. But it's the end of the over, none for 1.
El Chopanos, Siraj lives by the uppercut, dies by the uppercut. Messi Jez, it seems that India's tail believe that the IPL is the best test batting training. They can't get, and maybe it's the pitch, that's the way to go. The crunch, if I was Pant, I would be pretty pissed off at the tail enders that they couldn't stay out there longer.
Well, now this is no surprise. Just 1 second. Bowling from the Anna Pavilion end is going to be this man opening with spin.
Faced up against the spin, try to cover drive, and there they go again. I'm out LB to Ashwin.
It's bowling from that Anna Pavilion end, and that one, well, so his Karen ball seemed to just almost move as a leg break, didn't it, to Sibley. Plenty of company around the bat. Leg slip, and forward short leg. Ashwin. And again, that one is met fully by Sibley. The fridge.
Yeah. It's a good move by Kohli here. I think it's Ishan's going to steam in for a few, and Ashwin the other end. It's a great combination.
We'll hold that thought for a second as Sibley is forward. It just trickles backwards, but harmlessly to Pant. A good move, but I think an expected one, Ollie.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. I think on this pitch, I'm surprising they actually picked two frontline seamers, to be honest.
Wide mid-off and mid-on, and it's flicked around the corner, and it's just short of Virat Kohli at leg slip, who's touching his cap, tossing his head back.
That was the first ball where he didn't take a big step outside off stump in order to be able to negate the spin.
It caught him on just pitched a fraction short of Captain Kohli. Who arguably should be standing that just a tad closer. That one's flicked straight to a very short mid-wicket by Sibley. I always think he has the look of a nightclub bouncer, Sibley. You wouldn't want to argue him if you did meet him outside a pub, would you? He's just solid. Flicked nicely off his legs. Is this going to be England's first runs? No, it's not. Or was it? Did they take the single or did they go back?
They went for the single.
They went for the single, probably out of a degree of desperation, because there was a huge element of risk there. But they made it. They have a run on the scoreboard. It's the end of the over. I didn't think they made it that comfortably at all.
It was pretty comfortable.
You think so?
Yeah.
They seemed to hesitate for a while, and that's what possibly caused some grief. 1-4-1, Al.
Right. I've had to. I'm self-editing a little bit because some of these tweets have got to do with India's innings. Leah, India have to make up for this morning with the bat, or I'll be extremely disappointed. Also, morning all. Adelaide Barmies pretty satisfied about. It caught 300 when India were 250, so 29 off. We'll take that.
Well, it's no surprises that Ishant Sharma is going to be bowling again from that Pattabiraman gate end.
We've got a picture from Dr. Dan Diaper, which I can't retweet, so I'll ask Nakul to do it. The stumping of Patel by Folks, which is lovely to see.
Sharma in, forward comes Sibley. His hands above head, both slips. But to me, that looked played solidly enough.
I always worry with Sibley about that front foot, though. I think he's a big, although he likes the leg side, I still think he's a big LBW candidate early on. And I think that's where it's slightly kept low, maybe. Just, I think you can see the attack here to Sibley, that fourth stump line.
Well, it was certainly a terrific first over by Ishant Sharma, who is going to be obviously taking up the attack again. Deccan charges, and he's played for loads of people, hasn't he, in the IPL over the years. The Rising Pune Supergiants, the Sunrisers, the Hyderabad Band. This one's tickled away round the corner, though. That'll be runs for Sibley. That's going to go all the way back for the square for England's first boundary. 4 runs.
It's me, Sanshi. It's me, Sanshi.
I should, of course, say, I don't know if anyone said it early on, but love to all our listeners on Valentine's Day. From us to you. Hardly anonymous, of course, but we're glad you're there. 5-4-1. Sibley with the first boundary, nicely played. Rory Burns, the man out. LBW on umpire's call. Given by me, not given by Al. I think, Ollie, you were somewhere on the fence.
I was umpire's call, yeah. I thought it's just one of those ones that just didn't, for me, it's one thing, if you're a bowler, it's out. If you're a batsman, it's not out. So
2 slips of gully. Sharma in. Again, that was very low. Taken ankle height this time by Rishabh Pant. We'll have a change in the commentary box at the end of the over. It's been eventful. Goodness me, it's been eventful. 306 overnight. India all out, of course, for 329. England already 5-1. You blink and you miss something in this test, I think. Ashwin opening the bowling for India. Didn't surprise us. We were expecting to see some spin. And we did. But it's pace in the form of former Sussex man Ishant Sharma. That one back to catch Sibley on the pad. I think he was outside the line though. And there will be no run. We'll have another look at that for you. Gets the balls higher.
The upper thigh, shall we say?
I think, yes, I believe it was. So it's probably... Although he was leaning, he's crouching forward a fair bit, I think it discomforted him to some extent, because he certainly seemed to flinch. I don't care what Brian Close used to say, and the way you worry about it, the ball's only on you for a second. I mean, that wasn't, that wasn't padded, it was his back leg, and it would have hurt. 5 for 1. Sibley has really flicked off his legs again. He likes those the offside. Backward of the square leg umpire. The man comes around from long leg. They will take 2. Now that is what I would describe as comfortable, unlike that first single that you've got a feeling England were desperate to take. We have 1 ball left of this over.
I like the idea that there's aggressive running between the wickets.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm 100% for it. I just felt on that instance it was a case of really wanting to see a run on the scoreboard. Having 0 for 1 never looks pretty, does it?
I think that's a little bit of your own display. I think it might be what a psychologist might call displacement.
Possibly.
I think you might have wanted to see a run more than they would have done.
I thought that's what Archimedes discovered in the bath, wasn't it? Displacement. When he ran up and down the street shouting Eureka because he realised that the amount of his body that went in the bath was equal to the amount of water he chucked out.
That's true.
Hussein Sharma forward and nicely met by Sibley, pushed to mid-on. It is the end of the over. It is 7 for 1 for England. We will have a change. I can see Grubby Howarth, handsome, debonair, and about to entertain you. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Tone. Well, it's a battle out there. 7 for 1 England after 3 overs in reply to India's 329. Dom Sibley, he's a lot of things. I think many people thought he was going to struggle on this tour. But one thing he is, he's a stubborn, obdurate bugger. He scored lots and lots of runs and faced lots and lots of balls in county cricket. And I think he'll be relishing this battle. It's Grubby here in the central missionary position. And I think I have Ollie with me. Hello, Ollie. How are you?
Very well, sir. Very well. Looking forward to a good morning's play. And it's fascinating already, isn't it? 5 wickets in already.
Yeah, exactly. The game is moving on, as I believe someone else once said, or said several times.
Yeah. It feels like a 4th day pitch already, doesn't it? Really, that kind of the game feels like a 4th day game almost. There's wickets, there's a bit of excitement happening, so it's great cricket.
Yeah, thoroughly entertaining stuff as Ashwin starts a new over to Dan Lawrence, who defends this into the onside. There is no run. We have a slip in place, a leg slip, a forward short leg, I think, and the pressure is right on England. Lawrence comes forward to this one and tucks it into the leg side. It's fielded at mid-wicket and he can't get a run. Yeah, good move, and one that we discussed and we saw coming really. Ashwin opening the bowling here alongside Ishant. Ishant has started off right on the money. Burns might feel a little aggrieved that was given out on the field, but it was clipping leg stump, so he can't feel too badly about it. Forward in defence comes Lawrence once again and comfortably plays it into the leg side, and there's no run. But a terrible run of form. Our friend Messi Jez has tweeted in Burns' last 7 test innings have yielded no more than 53 runs, and including 3 ducks. Messers reckons it's time for a haircut, therefore, the kind of reverse. This is eating Lawrence on the outside edge. The one that held its line. He was playing for turn that didn't manifest itself. And he missed that by a good way, I'd say. I think it just skidded on, possibly off the shiny bit of the ball. Obviously a very new ball, and Rishabh Pant doesn't take it cleanly. But a genuine play and miss there from Dan Lawrence. And he's sweeping this time. Did he get outside the line of off stump? It's a big shout for LBW. That can't be given. I think he was outside the line. The DRS timer is ticking down, but Kohli's not interested in reviewing that.
I think Virat Kohli actually told Rishabh Pant to calm down there with the appeal.
They love Rishabh. Apart from anything else, he's a great dressing room personality. Another attempted sweep and inside edge from Lawrence. It fetches up a leg slip, and that's the end of that over. He whipped through that one, Ashwin, and it remains 7-1 after 4. Do we have any social messages?
Lots and lots. So I'm going to be taking these for the next half hour. I should say hello to some people with honours on Cricket Tracker India. Mohammed Shaddam, Sagar Patel, Imran Ali, Hussain Nihal, Chirag Patel, Asghar Khan, Viveshwarao, Salihundam, Sudhabhив Day, just the latest of many, Kalyan Kumar as well, latest of many, joining us at facebook.com/Cricket Tracker India. A few people with us on YouTube as well. George McPherson describes the start of the innings as embarrassing and says that Sibley and Lawrence need to put on a big partnership. Jiten Pithgod looking too far ahead, but fair enough. Stone looked very good. He will be handy in Australia. Daniel Keppel Music says he thinks that India scores too fast and that it gives Joe Root a lot of time to score a lot of runs, and Ben Stokes as well.
2 slips, a gully, a backwards square leg for Ishant, who starts a new over to the obdurate Sibley, who watches this one pass through. Too wide of his off stump as far as Ishant was concerned.
Ishant Sharma is superb around the wicket to left-handers. He's done that sort of Stuart Broad thing of being able to, because he slightly angles the ball in and then it moves away. But then that one that got Rory Burns just kind of kept going on with the arm. I think these are a couple of years old, but I think in the last few years he averages something like 18 round the wicket to left-handers.
No, he's terrific, and I often think of that line of attack to left-handers. I often think back to Andrew Flintoff, to Adam Gilchrist in the famous 05 series, where he did have him in a lot of trouble during that series, bowling in that manner you described there, Knuckle. Here comes Ishant over the wicket to the right-handed Sibley, who is forward solidly in defence and playing it back up the track.
We're going to put in some tweets during the... Sorry, Ali, between balls, because we are a little bit behind. Abhishek Chopra, the quote-unquote knowledgeable Chennai crowd, clapping in sync with the crowd as the bowler runs in, is peak captaincy. Mike says Burns out the same way as Shubman Gill, also off the third ball of the innings, although at least Rory Burns did try and hit it. Abhishek says that wasn't umpire's call, that was Ishant's call. Superb appealing skills.
I was going to come on to that. Yeah.
Interesting. I think umpires are judging LBWs based on what the ball tracking is likely to show, rather than what would traditionally constitute an LBW, which is interesting, but I think a stretch.
Sibley has 7, all of England's runs thus far, and he is forward in defence. It squirts off the outside edge down to a wide third man, an untenanted third man, so that is going to be the first one of these of the innings.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Dominic Peter Charles Bannerman Sibley.
Yeah, the record's on, Knuckle, the record's on. When do we get the hashtag Bannerman watch out? Now. Get it out now. It's usually about once a test match that we think that someone might break that.
We've already had it, mate. We were on Bannerman watch for a large parts of Rohit's innings yesterday.
Yeah. Well, we can rock it out again. Sibley has all of England's 11 runs. So that's the record right there. Declare. Yeah, Sibley's going to be loving this. It's the tailor-made situation for him and his personality and his style of batting, I think. Forward in defence, he comes again, playing it up to mid-on. There's no run there. Do we think Mohammad Siraj will be asked to do more of the work with the old ball then, given that he's not opened the bowling here?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's how they'll play it. But I think with Ashwin, England will get success if Ashwin leads the attack. If India have to take him off, you can see him settling in here for a long spell, and it's going to be an incredible examination for people like Dan Lawrence and Sibley here. This is real Test cricket.
I'd expect Kuldeep to get a go before lunch. Maybe one over just to see what there is. I think Akshar Patel's also been very effective with the new ball, and then it could well be Kuldeep and Siraj doing a lot of work with the older ball.
Ishant over the wicket to Sibley, who comes forward, covering this one up and clipping it beautifully through that wide mid-wicket area, which is such a strength of his. This one's going to go all the way as well. Second 4 of the over.
1, 2 ka 4, 4 2 ka 1. My name is Lakhan. My name is Lakhan.
For all the talk that it is, a quote-unquote fourth-day pitch, and certainly the ball taking chunks out of the surface, there are still runs to be had on this surface.
Well, there's certainly...
definitely.
That wasn't quite a leg stump half volley. But it was certainly bowling to the strengths of Dom Sibley. You can't bowl straight at him. You have to be challenging that fourth stump outside off stump. And Ishant will feel a bit aggrieved, I think, at that one.
Yeah, it's very similar to the first game. When we were commentating then, I just said they're bottom too straight to him. Yeah, for me, Sibley's 4th, 5th stump, just hang it out there and play there. But.
Absolutely. Here comes Ishant to complete this over. And there is that perfect line, and Sibley rather fences at that one. Victory for the bowler on that occasion, but he survives, and it's 15 for 1 at the end of the 5th over.
Well, I mean, India have had a lot of success bowling straight in India, the fast bowlers, over the last few years, and I think they almost pretty much said before the start of today that they wanted to bowl very straight. We saw in the first test, in the first innings, most of the wickets in that innings were straight and were bowled in LBW. But I think you can only bowl that line if you've got a very leg side dominant field. With that sort of regulation field, I agree that you need to be probably targeting classic top of off. A lot to talk about about Ishant's aggressive, appealing. Subbu Shastri says Glenn McGrath will be proud, and also says King Viv, Bailey, Rob Bailey caught behind 1990 off Curtly Ambrose, an intimidating sight for anyone. Ambrose, not Rob Bailey.
Yeah, those are the days. Rob Bailey, quite a short-lived test career for him. Not the first or indeed the last to be found out by that fearsome West Indies attack. This is fired in by Ashwin, and Lawrence plays it from the crease defensively. Has a big grin to the numerous fielders around him. Probably a little bit of chat going on there. Ashwin comes in again, that straight run up, and Lawrence is down the track astride and just whipping it into the leg side, but again he can't pierce that inner field, and he remains on 0 not out after 11 deliveries.
Yeah, it's good footwork though, from Lawrence.
Yeah, even if you're going to defend against the spinners, I think the footwork is important. Keeps the bowler honest. This one he threatens to come down and then just stays on his crease and plays it therefrom back up to the bowler. Again, signs of a good temperament here, trying to get himself into a nice relaxed frame of mind, Lawrence, but concentrating as the ball is bowled, which is now flighted up outside the off stump by Ashwin this time, and forward in defence comes Lawrence once more, plays it to the offside for no run.
Yeah, he's trying to be positive with his feet, which is good to see. And I'm not completely convinced against new ball to sweep with him, but I'd much rather him come down and go back. So good so far.
Another nicely flighted delivery on the stumps, this time from Ashwin, and he's able to turn it into the leg side as Lawrence, but once more it's fielded at that mid-wicket position, and there's no run.
Yeah, the thing you have to be careful of with the sweep is the bounce and the dip with the new ball. It could be a tactic to Kuldeep a little bit later.
Back in his crease he goes this time. Lawrence plays it defensively into the onside. It's another dot ball, another maiden from Ashwin, and 15 for 1 is the score.
I think we've seen that if you are good at the sweep, then it's an essential part of scoring runs. Kez on Hot Mic says, well, that was a great 45 minutes. 6 batters contributed 9 runs to the innings. Puts Rohit's knock into context. And Rahane and Pant, I guess, as well. Nathan talking about umpires and home umpires since COVID. I was talking about this on a podcast that I was doing yesterday. The thing about neutral umpires I think it's made the game substantially better, partly because it's raised the standard of umpiring, but also that we can talk about mistakes as mistakes rather than even having this conversation even to debunk it about bias. We're simply not having those conversations in the days of neutral umpires, and Imran Khan's greatest contribution to cricket, it turns out, possibly, as I go and turn the skybox off standby mode. I haven't had that for a while.
It does like to pop up occasionally. The standby mode, I get that in my house quite a lot, because the telly's always on, basically. 15 for 1 is the score. Sibley has all 15. There's a man at short mid-wicket. It's a good fielding position for him, and a man at backwards square, as well as a slip and a gully. One of those slips has come out. This one rather squats on Sibley, and he does that rather Kevin Peterson thing of letting everyone in the dressing room know that there might be some variable bounce. I'm not a big fan of that, Ollie. Not a big fan of that.
No, exactly. And I think it's the case. He doesn't get that far forward sometimes, Sibley, and I think he just gets caught in his crease a little bit. And with that invariable bounce, I'd like to see a bit more positive with his feet here, Sibley. Even take a half a step out of his crease.
It's tricky though with a guy like as tall as Ishant, who gets as much bounce as Ishant Sharma. Sibley gets a decent enough stride in. He's a tall guy, so he doesn't have to get a full stride into the fast bowler to get some way some way forward. I think it's more a problem against the spinners, that sort of half stride.
Rishabh bowls now is just on that fourth stump line once more, and all in defence, Sibley pushing it up to mid-off. There's no run. Yeah, yesterday evening when Ollie Stone was bowling to Rishabh Pant, and Pant was batting a couple of feet outside of his crease, wasn't he? And promptly gets hit somewhere on the bicep or the elbow or somewhere. So it's by no means a straightforward thing to decide to do, either to take a big stride to the quicks or indeed bat outside your crease. And Sibley does tend to play more or less from the crease. He's never one for a massive stride, I don't think. But he looks calm at the crease. Sibley mentioned his temperament previously. I do think he's got this invaluable obdurate streak to him. Serves him very well as an opening batter. This one he allows to pass through, a length ball that good carry through to the keeper on this occasion. Sibley nothing to do with it. Wanders to square leg, squints into the sun, fiddles with his gloves, going through his routine. There was a lot made of Rohit Sharma during his long innings yesterday, just looking so calm and fresh and almost like he wasn't even sweating. I think speaks to the man's temperament as well.
When you've seen the ball as good as he was yesterday, yeah, it's pretty relaxed frame of mind to be in. When you get in that groove, and I thought he was awesome yesterday. Really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I've very much enjoyed him in all formats. An amazing stat I read from our Cricket Tracker colleagues, which I'll bring you in a moment. This is flicked off his leg stump by Sibley, but it's fielded by that man at the short mid wicket position. He's the first man in international cricket to score all format centuries against 4 different oppositions. I think was the little nugget from our friends at Cricket Tracker.
Yeah,
he's one of very few. I think he's got 3 T20 international hundreds. He's one of very few who has that. There was some talk when he was looking really good of him matching the Gale Slam, which is the Test match triple 100, the ODI double 100, and the T20 international 100. And he has 2 of those things.
Yeah, only 3 triple centuries in Indian Test match history. 2 of those by Sehwag, is that right? And 1 by our friend Karen Nair.
Correct.
Pregnant 5th former. Never seen again. Here comes Ishant, and angles one into the off stump, and Sibley finds a gap in the offside in the covers there, and they come through for a comfortable single.
That's really good cricket. That's really good cricket from England there.
Yeah, very much. Sorry.
Positive rotating that strike. It's so important in these conditions to make you feel like Lawrence's isn't on Ashwin all day. They've got to rotate that strike, be positive, and they've got to keep the scoreboard ticking over.
I think that your point there about getting Lawrence away from Ashwin is a good one as well. He's got rather stuck there. Listen, it's only 15 deliveries.
Well, he's also been trapped on the crease LBW to the fast bowlers a couple of times in this series, which can happen early doors. Dan Lawrence is a positive player, someone who can score reasonably quickly with limited fuss, as he showed in Sri Lanka. But he is understandably nervous.
He'll also know that as soon as Crawley's fit, he's pretty much out the side, so additional pressure, and he's forward very solidly in defence, playing it up to mid-off, and there's no run. That's the end of the over. It remains 16 for 1.
I mean, or not, to be fair. It could take the pressure off him to some extent, saying, right, you just bat, you're a man for the future, but you're not playing for your place in that sense. Peter J on Hot Mic also complaining about the sink. Yes, this is getting quite annoying now from Hot Mic, but they're fine people, and we'll deal with these minor inconveniences because they're a fine platform. Our friends at Hot Mic, go to hotmic.io and use the code GC Radio. Jimmy Danger is with us on YouTube, on Cricket Tracker. Dilip, which sounds like a Blondie song. Preet Bhatt, Dilparan, Dilip, Kalpesh Patel, Sam Makija, Vaibhav Kamble are all with us as well. Delighted to have you all with us. A stat sent him from Abhishek Chopra, courtesy of Kaustav Gudipati, Cal Stats, who's become one of my favourite stats people. This is the first ever instance in Test cricket where the first innings of both teams had a batter out LBW without any runs on the board.
Interesting. Now Ashwin's come round the wicket to Sibley, and immediately there's an LBW shout. Now the question would be whether that pitched in line, or if it obviously pitched outside leg, then he's not going to get it.
Pitch outside, didn't it?
looked like it did, and that's why they're not going to review the seemingly correct decision from the umpire, giving it not out.
Yeah,
but
all the talk about the umpiring yesterday. Nitin Menon and Anil Chaudhary, who were on-field umpires in the first test, were really good. Actually, we completely read that wrong because it pitched on middle.
It did pitch in line, but bounced, I think, too much with the new ball. This one, however, he's more keen on, and they are going to review this time. This looked like a bit fuller than the previous one, so the bounce is perhaps taken out of the equation. Well, not taken out of the equation, but it's less likely to be bouncing over the top because of that fuller length.
Well, Kohli patted his glove. I think they think that this has been caught at short leg, and Sibley's walking off.
All right. Well, there we go. 2 down then.
Well, possibly not. Sibley could have given himself out accident. Back of the bat.
Back of the bat. So he's been caught at leg gully or leg slip there, I think. And as you say, Knuckle, he was halfway back to the pavilion already. So the review is almost academic at this point, and that's 2 down for England, and in quite a lot of trouble. And enter the big man.
Go OUT the window, go OUT the window, go OUT the window, 'cause OUT spells out.
Ironic that it's something that comes off pad and then hits something after it has hit the pad.
It's almost worth a review, isn't it?
More obvious, I suppose, from Anil Chaudhary to pick it up this time. I'm not really sure why we're seeing this on Ultra Edge, because it quite obviously hit the back of the bat, but I guess Anil Chaudhary is not going to be making any bold decisions today after the day he had yesterday.
Do you know what? It comes back to my point now. Look, someone like Joe Root is an awesome sweeper of the ball. Kevin Peterson was a great sweeper of the ball. Ian Bell was a good sweeper of the ball. But it is an art form, sweeping, and I do worry where people get seduced by the idea that we must sweep all the time, and that's the way to be positive here. And if you're not a natural sweeper, like sweeping someone like Ashwin is a real tricky thing. And again, the shot selection there. Yeah, I'm not keen on it for us.
Yeah, it was good from India though. Immediately Ashwin was bowling to Sibley. He changed that angle of attack, came round the wicket, almost bowling for either the LBW that he appealed for the first delivery of the over, or indeed a chance of a catch close in.
Well, it also takes out he can't just stay on off stump and work everything to leg. So Sibley felt he had to find another way of scoring. Unusual, I guess, for Sibley to feel impatient, but well bowled by Ashwin, and the field well set. Kohli in there at leg gully. Anyway, yes, this does bring a man in one of the purplest patches of all time to the crease.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a pict, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
Ashwin back over the wicket for the England captain, who is back in his crease and steering it to point. And there's no run there.
Well, talk us through what happened. So it fired in quite flat. Sibley misread the length to some extent, and it bounced off that pad and off the back of the bat. Good catch actually by Virat Kohli. We didn't see that in real time. Dive forward.
And Root does get the sweep out. It was too full, that one from Ashwin as far as he was concerned, and Root was able to get off the mark, sweeping to backward square.
Yeah, and it's a great example there as well. Like Root picks the length so quickly. I think Sibley was almost premeditated that. You can see Root there. He's picked the length. The ball before has gone lovely, straight back. He's seen the length gone back. On that one, he's seen the length, swept. And I think that's where Sibley just, for me, has preempted that. And I think against Ashwin, it's a very dangerous shot.
Shows how much better Root is than almost everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Back around the wicket with Lawrence on strike, and this one is angled across England's number 3, and he steers it to backward point. Still can't get off the mark. Yeah, but the difference was that the ball that Root was able to sweep was of a very full length.
Exactly.
Unlike the one, there's only margins, only fractions, isn't it? But it was I think Ashwin will feel a bit annoyed with himself there. He's back in his crease, Lawrence, and defending it a little bit skittishly into the offside. There's no run. That completes that over. A successful one for India. England rather struggling on 17 for 2.
I'd quite like to see Ashwin go round the wicket to Joe Root, just to try and take that sweep out and at least make him think about something else. Some talk that Cheteshwar Pujara is not fielding today. I don't know if he did get hit on the finger by Ollie Stone, so I wonder if there's something going on there. I'll try and find out more of what's going on
Or maybe India just been a better fielder on.
Well, maybe. Don't have Jadeja with them. Jay Grover on Bannerman Watch quite rightly points our attention to the fact that in Test cricket, it's actually not. Charles Bannerman does hold the record of highest percentage of a team's completed innings in men's tests, but the women's tests equivalent figure is actually higher. Enid Bakewell scored 112 not out of 164 for England against the West Indies at Edgbaston in July 1979. 68.29%. Good spot, Jay. She called it Enid Blackwell, but close enough. And someone Nag says every ball is bringing little explosions out of the pitch, and to try and make some explosions happen, replacing Ishant Sharma at the Pattabhiraman end.
The stroke play is diverse and as sweet as a slice of Battenberg. Action.
And the first ball that he bowls in Test cricket is steered down to third man by Joe Root, and is going to get a couple. Yep, saw a fair bit of action in the IPL.
Yeah, he made my team of the tournament. Rishabh Patel. I thought he was excellent with bat and ball for the Delhi Capitals. He does have a decent first-class record, not stellar, but a decent first-class record. Has played some India A cricket. Had a good Ranji Trophy season, not the one that just gone, but the one before that. For those of you who aren't watching, he's a tall, sort of willowy left-arm spinner, very accurate.
He's going to come round the wicket to Joe Root, who beats him on the outside edge. A delicious delivery just outside the off stump, and spinning away and beating Joe Root's defensive prod. Well bowled.
He'll mix up his arm angles. He'll go with a very high arm, and then he'll go slightly more round arm to try and get the ball to present a sharper angle.
This is thrown in to middle and leg, really, and Root plays it more or less from the crease out onto the offside. There's no run.
You talked about similarities with Jadeja and Root, but there's a little bit of that with Akshar Patel, in that if he does get the ball to turn, he gets the ball to turn quickly, and he can be very dangerous as a result.
Nice delivery outside the off stump again, and Root is forward, pushing it to backward point. No run there, so he's started pretty well here, Akshar. And a lot of those variations you're talking about, Knuckle, that you wouldn't have got 20, 30 years ago in Test cricket, because it was all about landing on a handkerchief and whatever. But obviously, white ball cricket has made those variations much more common and part of the armoury. This is steered defensively into the covers by Root. No run again.
I mean, it's little subtle variations on a theme, right? It's not. Rangana Herath was doing this, and I'm sure left-arm spinners of times gone by were doing this as well. It's just little variations on the same theme.
Defended from the crease once more by Root, very watchfully. I'm not saying there weren't variations previously, but the emphasis would have been on accuracy, consistency. The spinners have always had an arm ball and all the various tricks of the trade, but those sort of arm angles and the different arm, the different angles that you might be coming in with, round arm, etc. It's much more varied now than it was, mainly thanks to the white ball game, I think you have to say.
Yeah. Absolutely, and even how he's used the crease there, that slight arm ball there was wide of the crease. He's used the crease, he looks in control, and really impressive first over.
Yeah, and we have not even seen Kuldeep yet, but with just over half an hour to lunch, we probably will.
Should have a change.
Are we changing right now?
Let's do one more over.
We bowled by Ashwin. Straightish delivery, which Lawrence is eventually going to get off the mark to, as he shoves it up to mid-on. They come through for a sharp single, but that will be a relief to England's newish number 3. He is 1 not out. Root is 3 not out, and England have wheezed up to 20 for 2. We're in the 10th over of England's reply to India's 329, losing those last 4 wickets this morning for just 29 runs. But many observers think that is plenty on this pitch. Ashwin, 1 for 3 are his figures, and he's into his 5th over, so an excellent start. He's opened the bowling alongside Ishant Sharma for India. And some may say this is the game, as Joe Root has to do what Joe Root has been doing for England recently. Another sweep here from outside off, but another full delivery to allow him to do so. That's the key there, the length. Sweep on length rather than line. And another of those trademark Joe Root grins as he gets up to the non-striker's end, right in the face of our Ashwin.
Yeah, I mean,
he just looks in such control of his game here, Joe Root. Like the confidence on this wicket to come in, 2 great sweeps already. You know, he's confident going forward and back, and what a form he's in here.
Yeah, and here's the heavy eyebrow Dan Lawrence coming forward using his feet and almost getting in a bit of trouble with that man at short leg, flicking it back towards the stumps. But he's okay in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Root has so many different types of sweeps that it's not just one scoring shot, it's 3 or 4 different scoring shots, and almost wherever you move the field, he can find a way to score off it.
This one keeps a little bit low and beats him on the under edge. Lawrence aiming a cut there through the offside, but just seemed to skid on a bit. Maybe again it hit the shiny bit of the ball. Ashwin flings his long-fingered hands to his head. Back in his crease goes Lawrence, defending it into the onside once more. He does have a little bit of a Oasis eyebrow going on, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Ashwin once more to complete the over. Just skidding on towards the stumps and defended into the offside. That is the end of the over, 21 for 2, and I will hand you over to the very capable hands of Mr. Tony Bishop, I believe.
It's going to be me, Grub.
I'll hand you over to the beautiful Al Hodge.
Oh,
bye.
So gorgeous. There's a Valentine's message for you, Al.
Someone needs to get him a new camera. His old one must be broken. 21 for 2. Not entirely unexpected, I'm going to guess, Tony.
No, I think we rather thought 329 was a decent score on this track. Burns, I thought, not a great shot. I think he was a little bit unlucky, Sibley.
As it is Patel who's going to continue, and Root is going to sweep in front of square, a long run for the deep square leg fielder, and there'll be a comfortable 2. It does seem interesting as well that there is a degree to which Root looks far more comfortable than other batsmen, although I think Axar Patel isn't going to be necessarily too concerned if Root is going to sweep against the spin as opposed to
physiological thought in a moment, perhaps after this ball.
Yeah, sure.
But it's just how flexible his hamstrings must be to be able to crouch and thrust, as it were, if you'll pardon the expression, his foot forward so far.
Good line, just outside off stump, slightly turning away from Root, and he just plays the ball watchfully in defence, and there'll be no run.
We saw it there on that last sweep shot, just how far and how low his sort of body profile was.
And he's swept, and he's got a top edge, and he is out. Axar Patel has his man. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And by the sweep shot, Joe Root has got himself out for 6, to the shock of Indian and English fans all over the place. Axar Patel has his man. The left arm spinner has done his job, and England are...
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
How's that? You missed about, I caught you out. How's that?
That's the last time I ever mentioned his flexible hamstrings.
Yeah, shut up, Tony. Neymar Butlin says it's 9:30 on a Saturday night in LA. Just watch Crazy Rich Asians again. This could be the title of the game. Rich Asians and poor pasty blokes from Blighty.
Well,
potentially.
Poor pasty blokes from Blighty at the moment.
Well, certainly.
on first wicket, of course. That for Axar Patel.
Yeah, but it is interesting that it's, you know, the sweep shot against the spin and the sweep shot with the spin are two completely different concepts. Root's tried to roll his hands over the ball to keep the ball down, but it's spun and taken the top edge and looped up, and Ashwin's taken the ball backward square, easy as you like. It brings this man to the crease, who might need to play a different type of innings.
Ben? Ben Stokes.
We might not need quite as much of that from Ben, but...
Well, the other school of thought is take the game to India. It's however you get to 300 plus. I mean, any first innings lead is vital. A big first innings lead is fatal from an English perspective, and
he's going to have the innings of his life in order to be able to have that, as Patel is in, and he has beaten Stokes' outside edge as he was neither forward nor backwards, just pushed his bat through the ball, and it's only just missed the outside edge. And there was a great deal of happiness in the entirety of the Indian camp as Stokes pushes that ball past Patel, and it will go down to long on, and he will be off the mark.
India are under a lot of pressure. You know, lose the first test, and then they had to win. They have to win this, really, don't they? Otherwise, the series will be drawn.
Yeah, the whole psychology of the shift from here to Ahmedabad and the next game being a day-night game is interesting, I think.
There's a lot of talk about
how this one's expendable.
Not from India's point of view.
No, not for India, but from England.
Yeah, but there's a lot of danger in chatting that everyone seems to think in England, just because it's a day-night game, are going to breeze to a victory.
Definitely not. But they will feel they have a better than even chance. I don't even think better than even. They will, before the tour, have thought it was their best chance, is my feeling.
Last ball of the over, and that is taken Lawrence on the pad, and the umpire feels not out. Virat Kohli, well, there's no, all the talk of about how he was becalmed, we can dismiss as absolute rubbish, as he is all over the place.
He's been like a gremlin that's had a bit of water poured on him this morning, hasn't he? He's been quite feisty.
Suman Nag says, quite a swag of Axar with sunglasses on, first over of Test cricket. First Bannerman call for Rooty, too soon, says Richard German.
Yeah.
Nestlers, you look like an NBA coach doing a highly defensive press conference, says Jay Grover. Mog says, the motherfucking collapse is on.
Well, it might have been on for a while.
Suman Nag says, England will need to get ready to bat the second time today.
Yeah.
And O'Neill Harris is also saying the collapse is on.
Well,
where's Hendo? Asleep.
Probably gone back to bed.
He's probably just shifting into wakefulness. Something deep in his back of his head will know what's going on, even if he's asleep.
Alan Turfmore says, oh, now we're screwed.
Ashwin in for his 6th over. Stokes squirts this ball behind square on the offside.
Burnley beat somebody 3-0 yesterday, or was I dreaming that?
I don't know. Why'd you say that?
Well, only because Alan Turfmore, as the name would suggest, is really a Burnley man.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought that was his surname.
Well, it's a bit like me calling myself Tony Vicarage Road. It's a bit of a clue. The clue's in the name.
Well, yeah, it could be, or he actually
Tony Vicarage.
He could be called Turfmore.
Actually, that's a good name.
Stokes did take the single to move on to 2, bringing Lawrence onto strike, and he goes back in his crease and plays washfully back to Ashwin for the second ball of the over, and there's no run. So
Alan,
just to bring this session into context, 7 wickets for 54 runs, a collapse by any stretch of the imagination, as Lawrence flicks this ball to mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Yes, the answer was yes, they did. They won 3-0. So between us, his team and mine managed 9 goals.
Well, Alan,
We'll have that.
Can you confirm that you are a Burnley fan and you're not just called Turfmore?
We've chatted to him before.
Lawrence pushes the ball out into the offside field, and they scramble a single.
I tell you, actually, Lawrence is under a bit of pressure here as well. He needs to do something. the Great White Hope that he was brought in as.
18 naught and 18 in the first test. That's
Not
not
good enough.
magnificent, is it? And brilliant start in Sri Lanka. Tailed off a wee bit, didn't it?
Slightly different kettle of fish here in terms of the level of the test, as Ashwin is in again, and that is a little bit too short, and Stokes is able to push the ball to mid-wicket, and they'll take a single.
Yeah,
Different kettle, different fish.
If you're brought in as number 3, you have to. It's no good just sort of getting out for, like you say, 18, is it? You can't keep doing that and expecting to play at number 3 all the time.
If he's still there going into the evening, well,
it's a big if.
I think
Well,
England
let's-
fans would all be happy.
Let's take us to lunch. As Stokes comes down Lawrence comes down the track, hoiks this ball, and it just clears mid-wicket. It will be fielded by Patel. A slightly mistimed shot, heavily mistimed shot, but it falls safe.
I think he must have heard Nestlers there,
I'm under pressure.
thinking, "Oh, Nestlers, if Nestlers is talking about me this time, I came on the attack." But it was rather annoying in that it was high and plugged, didn't it? He must have felt when that left the bat, oh, there's 4 on that.
I don't think he didn't get it.
No, he didn't get nearly all of it.
He didn't get it enough.
That's the end of the over. England are 29 for 3. Lawrence 4, Stokes 3. Nestle boy.
El Shopanos says, "Hi, just checking if you got any tweets about the collapse being on. Thanks." Yeah, just a couple.
One. I think you might be the first, old chapter. Just bear with me a sec, as Patel is in wide of the crease, and Stokes stretches forward and sweeps behind square, and there'll be at least 2 there. And we will move into the 30s.
Yeah, me and Leia are on the same page about the day-night test.
When I say me, we, I mean England. They're not going to let me bat.
Are they?
Yeah, light's too bad here at the moment. Patel in again, wide of the crease, and Stokes this time goes backwards in his crease. And will defend, and there'll be no run.
Yeah. Sorry, Jade, it does make me laugh. And Neymar Butlin says, "In that case, can you address me as Mr. Loftus Road, please?"
Dear me. That's got bounce. No real turn, but bounce outside Stokes' off stump. He dabs the ball behind square, but there's a backward point, and there'll be no run.
It might as well be a Loftus Road as well.
Yeah, slightly wide of Stokes' off stump. He's able just to dab that towards a cover, and it's going to be Rishabh Pant who sprints from wicket keeper to do the fielding. And Stokes will take the single, and England move to 32 for 3.
I used to love going to Loftus Road. It's a great away ground.
Is that because it's close?
I played there once.
Patel has come around the wicket, and Lawrence tries to turn that ball behind square, but Ashwin does some good work in fielding and prevents the single being taken. And we are at the end of this over. Axel's 3rd over. Figures 1 for 8 so far, and what a one it is.
Are you ahead of us on the Zoom, Al?
Nope, don't think so. I'm just telling you what I can see, which is that Lawrence is blocked forward to that last ball of the over. That's the end of the over, and England are 32 for 3.
I thought you called the last ball before that one. Jay says, "I like the idea that Hendo has some lizard penal gland which would alert him to a meteor strike or an England batting collapse." Cat Jones sticking it to us as an Aussie. He said, "I'm scheduled to commentate session 2 tomorrow. Safe to plan something else now."
Potentially, Cat.
Get out of it. Jay Grover says, "Also, Root and Sheffield United are both wank. Cancel them both."
Now. Ashwin in again, and Stokes pushes that ball through the cover ring of boundary, the cover ring of fielders. But Sharma is there at deep cover. Thank you, Nestlers. And England will move to 33 for 3.
Is Jay starting a root out campaign like the Klopp out campaign?
Well, if you take the Chelsea approach, you only need to not win a few games and you're out.
Yeah.
Lawrence, watchful, pushing forward, just that ball back to Ashwin, and there'll be no run.
Have they had the most managers in the top flight in the last 20 years? They must have done, haven't they?
By either them or Watford.
What?
Ashwin over the wicket, and Lawrence starts to go forward, then goes back in his crease, pushes the ball out to point, and there'll be no run.
Is Elton John still the manager at Watford?
The manager? He's life president.
Emeritus, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Ashwin pitches that ball a bit further up. It spins past, it would have hits Lawrence on the pad, but would have hit him out. Could have gone outside leg stump, and there was a quarter of a strangled appeal, which is then stopped and ignored by everybody. And that again spits and turns and hits Lawrence on the hip, and it drops, and there is no run.
Mark says, good to see Al introducing the first multilingual Guerrilla broadcast there.
Yeah. But then again, it's 5:48 in the morning, and I think everyone should give me a damn break. Last ball of the over, Lawrence takes half a step forward and then pushes the ball to mid-on, and there'll be a single. He'll move to 4, Stokes is on 7, England are 34 for 3. What else has Twitter got to say apart from the fact that I'm having trouble talking?
O'Neill Harris just says, with all the men round the back, there is so much space for Lawrence to hit it aerially. Yeah. But you've got to make sure you hit it past them. Modi Yadav says, Nick on Cricket Tracker India, which is, yes, 100% Burnley fan, Alan Turfmore. So he is named after the ground. I used to stand in front of a guy at Highbury whose son was predicted to be named the whole of the 1971 double winning team.
There was a guy at my school,
pathetic, really,
who was named after the whole of the Liverpool 1974 FA Cup winning team. First name Keegan. Axar around the wicket, and Lawrence just takes half a step forward and pushes the ball defensively back to the bowler, and there'll be no run. First thing he did when he was 18 was change his name. Second ball of the over, almost a carbon copy of the first. Lawrence, I think, wary of the ball that's going to spit and turn away from him, but just plays watchfully in defence.
His Ranji Goat Trophy debut back in 2012, Axar Patel. First test, but hardly the new kid off the block.
Not really. This one far more down the leg side. Lawrence unable to really turn it to square, hits the pad.
He also had a spell at Durham, as I recall, back in 2018, I think.
Pant did the fielding, but there was no run. That one fired in. Ooh. More down the leg side, way too down the leg side for an LBW appeal to be anything other than speculation. But there'll be no run.
India needed to win. They need to win the series at least 2-1 to make the World Test Championship final.
Well, I've got all sorts of feelings about that, as that one is far more in the right spot, off stump, straightening, and Lawrence is able to play that ball towards mid-wicket defensively, and there'll be no run.
Well, it's a thing.
Lawrence comes down the track to this last ball of the over, plays the ball to mid-on. He'll take a single. It's the end of the over. He'll be on strike as England are 35 for 3.
Jay Grover, I can't get beat Mog for root hatred, even though he's from the war. Root, not Mog. Mog says, I went to high school with someone who was named after the entire Australian 1984 Olympic team. Famously, Duncan Jones, David Bowie's son, changed his name to Duncan Jones because he was originally called Zowie Bowie.
He was.
Is that like Roland Boland?
I think Roland Boland, still called Roland Boland, isn't he?
Yeah. No, but just Yeah.
It's how we Barry Roland bowling, yeah. But Duncan Jones, who's totally not into music at all.
Good for him. As Lawrence comes down the track and it takes a leading edge, not really a chance, but a leading edge, as he went to play the ball through mid-wicket and the ball ends up going through cover.
Not a shot, not a chance, but you would definitely say not a shot he was under control of.
Oh, a false shot by any stretch. Just didn't really go in the vicinity of any fielder, that's all. He's found the gap perfectly.
Saved by the fact that he had used his feet well, which meant that at least it...
I mean, it is heavy leg,
which he has done so far.
It is a heavy leg side field. There's only 2 fielders on the offside, as he does play the ball. Not with the best of timing down to mid-on, and it's because of that lack of timing that they're able to come through for a single, and Lawrence will move his way to 9.
Are we seeing Manoj Tiwari's 7-2 field, only not for route?
To be honest, it wasn't necessarily anything revolutionary in a 7-2 leg side field. To be fair, I mean, no. But it was the way it was discussed. It as if it was like, leg theory or something like that. Right. But it was like, no, not really. It's
his annotations had tweaked 1 or 2 positions. I think he effectively had a.
I think it had all the hallmarks of someone who was trying to make themselves cleverer than they were. As Stokes takes a big stride forward and plays defensively to Ashwin's 3rd ball of the over.
To be fair, we wrote a whole article about it, so he probably got what he wanted. He got noticed.
That's far more on leg stump, as the ball takes the pad and then is caught at slip. And there'll be some... I'm not sure why there's really a discussion. It was going far down the leg side, but then again, I thought the ball to Rory Burns was... Oh, he's going to review it.
That looks the most unconvincing
That was
review.
out, that was definitely out.
Was that definitely out?
I don't know.
It's almost like Kohli's bored. Oh, review.
I think this might be more speculation, but I don't think he's hit it.
Oh.
Although LBW might be in play.
I was going to say.
And I didn't get the feeling he hit it, but
he's a long way from pad for a start.
His bat is a mile away. I think.
Too high.
I think if you're Virat Kohli, you'll turn around and you go, well, it's 2 for the price of 1, and think, but so it's definitely not out court. We've got 2 red lights, and it's missing off stump.
Not by a huge amount, but by enough.
The green light says it's missing. You don't get anything for the fact that it's close. So
I wonder if it also to a certain extent they're looking at who the batsman is in that instance.
I think Ashwin went up. I think that Kohli's decided that it's 38 for 3. Why not?
Keep the pressure on.
Well,
but the way they let it tick through.
Well, well, we'll come to it after this ball as Stokes plays watchfully. It was far more demonstrative when Sibley was out. It was like, I know you're out.
Or Sibley just walked.
And this was like, maybe. It was. And that's a sweep by Stokes, maybe outside the line of his off stump. That's the end of the over. I think even Ashwin was getting the ball back like he had another ball to bowl, but then he didn't. England are 38 for 3.
Same groundsman, different track, different overseeing. Put in the hands this time round of the India management in terms of the oversight of the pitch preparation. Sorry, Nestlers.
I was going to say, Mog said it is true. I was on the route. Is a hack who should be dropped train before it was cool. And Leia says Duncan Jones famously directed both the incredibly good Moon and the incredibly shitty World of Warcraft. He's currently working on a Rogue Trooper film. Moon is a great film. Name our butlins. If we can get out of this series with a win, I will name my kids after the Chennai groundsman.
That ball from Axar Patel has spat and turned and beaten Lawrence's outside edge as he gets him to push forward at a ball that's outside of his off stump. Exactly what Patel is looking for. That's got good loop and drift, but again Lawrence is able to get a good stride forward in and play the ball to a shortish mid-on, and there'll be no run. Trying to look at how much time we've got. Probably maybe time for another 2 overs or so before lunch. As Lawrence plays that ball defensively to mid-wicket for this third ball of the over, and there'll be no run. Apparently Kohli review because Ashwin said it was definitely out, but there you go. For every captain, listen to every bowler. Lawrence plays back in his crease this time, tries to get his whole body out of the way, just leaving his bat there to be able to play the ball back to the bowler, and there'll be no run. I don't think that's a good enough reason to take the review. As again, Lawrence gets his whole body out of the way in order to play a defensive back foot defensive shot back to the bowler, and there'll be no run. And Axar's done his job, I think, in order to get this over done quickly. Lawrence kind of just bunts the ball back to mid-on. The end of the over, everybody's sprinting to their positions to try and get one more over in before lunch, which I think they'll do. I think there's 2 minutes left.
There's 2 minutes to go, yeah. Victor Victoria's just woken up. I see India have turned on the switch, turning this from a road into the stickiest of wickets. How did we lose the wickets? Indian genius or our inability to play spin?
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
Indeed.
But then again, the 4 wickets to fall in the Indian first innings meant that you could point to a few different things. 7 for 67 this morning. I suppose this is your 2-minute klaxon to get things in for the GPL, as Stokes goes back in his crease and plays the first ball of this Ashwin over back to the bowler, and there'll be no run.
Just looking up the name of the groundsman actually for Neymar. It'll be Ramesh Kumar Butlins.
Oh, that's all right.
Just in case.
And that ball is spat and turned away from Stokes. Would have beaten any outside edge of any batsman. What a ball that is.
Bawdy that turned, didn't it? Goodness.
Turned way too much. As that's flighted up again and slightly uppishly driven by Stokes. Only as far as point. But Stokes is able to take a single and he'll move to 8.
Could see a ring of 3 fielders around the bat, or really it's sort of a very tightly knitted first, second and third slip for the left-hander when Ashwin's bowling. And when the ball turns like that, it's not entirely surprising.
Absolutely. Lawrence is 9, Stokes is 8. England are 39 for 3. So that's a ball fired towards Lawrence's leg stump and spinning into him, which he pushes that down towards mid-on, but there'll be no run. 2 balls left to go this over. That ball pushed across Lawrence, but again he's able to take a big stride forward and take a defensive shot. 51 balls faced by Lawrence for his 9 runs. Scratchy around there at times, but as Ashwin does what Ashwin does, which is to think about something else in the midst of delivery stride, and so we'll have to wait just a couple of extra seconds for this last ball of the over, the 18th over. Lawrence again takes a second just to reset the process, I think. Ashwin in, and that is caught. What a hammer blow on the stroke of lunch. Lawrence has pushed forward at the ball, maybe taken the top edge of the bat, or the shoulder of the bat, maybe a bit of glove in there. It's been taken at short leg, and Lawrence is out for 9, and that changes everything. A bit of extra bounce there from Ashwin. It's taken the glove, and it's been caught by Shubman Gill at square leg, and 39 for 4 is a horror show. An absolute horror show.
I think he was so desperate to keep his back foot rooted into the crease there that he just didn't quite get to the pitch. He just couldn't stretch enough. Actually, that's pretty much what happened to Joe Root as well. And so conscious are they that if the ball beats the bat to Ashwin, the chance of being stumped is so high. And he was just keeping that back leg rooted, and he couldn't get his front foot forward enough, and it's done for him.
At the end of yesterday's play, Hendo said to me that 300 might be enough. And
you said 270 something, if I recall.
329 might definitely be enough. India have shown how difficult this pitch is going to be to bat on. How great that innings was by Rohit Sharma yesterday of 161. England have struggled to get to the idea of 39 for 4. And one can only begin to think about what the afternoon session has in store. The story of this morning was that England came in to bowl with India 300 for 6. We did see a little bit of fireworks from Rishabh Pant. He moved to 58, but the innings was over far too quickly as England took the other wickets around him. Great work by Ben Foakes to stump Axar Patel. He went for 5. Ishant top-edged a Stone came in and mopped up. Kuldeep caught behind, and Siraj caught behind in the same over for 0 and 4 respectively. So India came in at 329 all out. And then from an England batting performance, Rory Burns again scores 0, trapped on the crease to a ball that was only just flicking the outside of leg stump, but that was good enough to beat LBW to Ishant without scoring again, and there may be problems at the top of the order. Sibley was the next to go. He was caught sweeping Ashwin, the ball taking the back of the bat and caught at slip by Virat Kohli. We wondered how Joe Root would go, what the pressure would be like, but he played his usual array of sweep shots to get to 6 and then top edge to sweep, and was caught backward of square by Ashwin for Axar's first test wicket. And then disastrously with the last ball before lunch, Dan Lawrence pushed at a ball. It took a little bit of extra bounce from Ashwin and was caught at square leg by Shubman Gill for 9. Ben Stokes is the not out batsman. He's 8 not out off 16 balls. Just the 3 bowlers used by India. Ishant Sharma, 4 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 15. Axar Patel, 5 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 9. And Ashwin, 9 overs, unchanged, 2 maidens, 2 for 15. Tony, what on earth can we see this afternoon?
Well, it's let's say first of all, India had the standout batsman. That was a magnificent innings, just as Joe Root had performed in the first innings. Rohit Sharma did it for India. That gave them exactly what they needed. India have bowled very well. England haven't, I don't think, batted especially well, but this pitch was definitely designed, I think, to be a tad livelier. It was the classic good toss to win, but I think it was a good toss to win for England. So I would say England are disappointed. They might look at a couple of those wickets and think technically there were 2 of them they probably could have avoided. I think possibly Root certainly. I think Burns definitely. Both of whom, it's disappointing. Root had to fail at some point and to go through. I know Stephen Smith close to did it in those Ashes, didn't he, in 2019? But India, Fadi, you've got to hold your hands up and say India have been quite superb. They've been at it from the off. Just even the attitude of Virat Kohli before the first ball was bowled, you could see him bristling with mischievous intent. So I have to say, hats off to India. Very well played them. England totally are up against it. Real challenge for Pope, folks. And who's our not out batsman?
Stokes.
Yeah, Ben Stokes. Yeah, Ben Stokes, of course, who offers some hope. You know, we've seen Ben Stokes in the past, haven't we? Be able to have a slow, steady start and then explode.
It's what the Rebel Alliance was founded on.
Well, indeed, it was. India, though, very much in the driving seat, 100%. You can't hide from that fact. England, I think, will be desperately disappointed, especially after such a good start with the ball.
Nestle boy, do you want us to read us some tweets and then we'll listen to the voice of God who's going to tell us what we've got going on for lunch?
Well, Anna Forsyth is with us. She says, hello all, just joined you after the hockey. Canucks actually won for the first time in 6 games. Miracles can happen. Suman Nag says, will Axar Ashwin leave any wickets for Kuldeep by the time he comes to bowl? Mayank says, the BCCI taken over the task of preparing this pitch because of the first test loss and relieving the curator from his duty seems quite insane to me.
I don't think they relieved him. They oversaw it.
Yeah.
And that was slightly different.
That's Mayank says.
But that's a bit like the director of football taking over from the manager, isn't it?
He's corrected himself. He saw that. Mog says, doom fucking
wobbly.
Suman Nag says, wow, Tony and Nestles look shocked.
It's natural state. Reverting to a natural state.
It is 6:10 in the morning on a Sunday. Leia says, Kohli should take a hint from Root's handling of DRS requests. Was that Stone Dead LBW, Joe? Well, fuck off, Stuart. Mog says, Mog is talking to Leia about Duncan Jones. Raj Nathwani replying to El Chopanos and us says, Root, living by Jadoo and die by Jadoo. We've got a lot of people on Crick Tracker who have said they like us. Knuckle did read some out earlier. Sachin Verma, JP Gujra, Budu, Lumbaran Deswazi, Yashpal Chatwan, Pradeep Tiwari, Prashant Rock, Sonu Kumar, Vilas Gautam, what a great name that is, Sachin Misra, Ramesh Jat, and Lovely Madan. What a lovely name Lovely Madan is. There you go. All done.
Right.
Knuckle, what do we got for our lunchtime entertainment?
We have more of the Bish. We have the Bish talking to Chevy Green, the program director of the ACE program, formerly set up with Surrey, now an independent organisation, set to expand into multiple other cities. We've done quite a lot of stuff with them. I've interviewed Ebony Rainford Brent, and you'll have a fair chunk of Tony talking to Chevy Green, their program director, as we see Ebony Rainford Brent on screen. So enjoy that. It's a good chat, and join us again in about half an hour or so.
Alright, see you in a bit.
Lunch well,
See
all.
you.
Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Guerrilla Crickets.
Welcome to Gorilla Chat, and today I am delighted to say that my guest is Chevy Green, Director of Programmes for Surrey's ACE programme. Now, a study by Leeds Beckett University last year found that a 72% decrease in black players in the English game between 1995 and 2019. Well, just one English-born black player had played Test match cricket since 2004. That's prior to Jofra Archer. And it's not just in the professional game. In our recreational game, only 1% of players are from African Caribbean heritage. Now, the ACE programme was launched by Surrey County Cricket Club in January 2020 in response to this alarming decline, with the bold intent of doing something about it. And to help us understand what and how well it's doing, I am thrilled to say hello to Chevy. Hello, Chevy.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me. Greatly appreciated to be with you this morning and talk around all things the ACE program. Looking forward to getting stuck in with you.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's lob you a gentle full toss to start with. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into your current role.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Chevy Green, I'm now director of the ACE program, but it started off for me at Surrey 7 years ago. Started off as a community coach, became a development officer, and then a cricket participation manager, and this role just kind of appeared really. I was working on the Surrey ACE program, and back in March, where we had the trials and the open days, the program was then heavily affected by COVID, but through that process, Sport England got in touch with us, and they liked what we were doing, and said we want to support the program to grow, and initially it just started off as an extension of my role at Surrey as a participation manager, where I helped make the bid, and worked with Ebony and Richard Gould to kind of put a bit of meat on the bones to the program. And then skip a few months down the line, as things progressed, Sport England said, let's make this bigger. Could we make it into a national program? And we said, okay, yes, let's look at that. And they said, can you work towards making it an independent charity? We'll give you a year to do that. And between Ebony and I and a few others, we set up the charity in 8 weeks. And
Wow.
then the conversation said, who's gonna run the program? So then that's where the role came for me.
You were the only one left sat in the room.
Yeah.
They went, it'll be you.
Pretty much. Yeah, so it's kind of looking around, and a few there's a few rumblings of Chev, you might potentially get to run this program, and then it happened. So then there's a bit of negotiation between the Surrey Cricket Foundation, the charity arm of the club who I was working for, and the county club and Sport England, and then it was decided that I'd be the director of programs, and I just thankful with everything that's going on this year, the past year or so, to still have an opportunity to progress and develop my career in something that I'm really, really passionate about. And it's exciting. Like, we launched in October as the independent charity, and I'd started on the 1st of December with my new role as director of programs, and it's been quite full on, juggling all the different stuffs with the lockdowns and everything else. And we went as soon as we could get back out in December. We had 3 sessions before Christmas with the current scholars that we've got on the program. And then, we had plans to do some more stuff this month, and we was going to have another open day in February. And, we launched in Birmingham this month as well. And, due to like everything else, it's kind of been put a little bit on the back burner, but there's still a lot of things, going on and taking place. So, just excited.
Well, come along and we'll talk about all of those things in good order, I think. So Ebony Brent is chair of the charity, isn't she? Was she directly involved in your appointment?
Yeah, she was. She kind of founded the program. There was a few people at the time actually having a lot of separate discussions, but Ebony kind of pulled it all together and kind of led from the front on this. And she, I've known Ebony for quite a number of years now, and as we was kind of working on the bid and putting everything together, and as everything landed, she was quite pivotal in having the confidence in me, putting my name forwards to be director of the program. So I'm thankful that she saw something in me and other people at Surrey, like Richard Gould, the chief exec, and my ex-employer Chris Coleman at the foundation, all saw something in me and believed in me, and that I could be the director and take this charity forward. So just positive, and can't thank them enough for.
That's fantastic. Great for you, and great for them. Let's ask another simple question, just for everyone's understanding. We have a very international audience, not just the UK, obviously. So it's a fairly simple one. ACE, is it an acronym? I could see African Caribbean potentially in there. Is it just a statement of intent? Tell us about ACE, the word itself in this context.
Do you know what, Tony? It's a bit of both, if I'm honest. You know, it started off as the African Caribbean Engagement Program, and you know that's what ACE stands for. And you know, I remember we was in a meeting, and I kind of just said, you know, how can we simplify it a little bit, and that's where ACE came.